Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast from Mailfuzz TV. I am Peter. My mic's getting shaky because I keep hitting the arm. Matt's here.
Hey, what's up?
And Connor's actually here from the start of the show this week.
Just about. I'm kind of semi-conscious.
Semi-conscious.
Yeah, we waited for him this week. There was no urgency, so...
Well, normally we do. It's just you had to leave by a certain time last week.
Yeah, I know, there
so
was an urgency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to get moving, but... Now this week we waited. Connor had 2 punishment issues to read, so you know we couldn't leave him behind. Not this week.
Punishment issues instead of calling them Patreon, and I feel.
I mean, to be fair, there's some alliteration there. Patreon punishment issues. There we go.
P3.
So yeah, we don't have a DC Comics. I covered up on this week's show. As a week 5, so there's less books than normal. We have Batgirl number 26. We have Batgirl Annual number 2, so double dose of Batgirl. We have Nightwing Annual issue 1. Batgirl was also in that, so technically a triple dose. And then we had the Silencer Annual issue 1, and then Connor will be struggling through Red Hood and the Outlaws. What number are you on?
24.
24.
Yeah.
All right,
Too many.
I'm going to type that in. Type that in right now because I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't take the artist details either, like you usually do.
I didn't. You can just tell me.
But you've been sloppy this week.
And then I've got my punishment issue to do, which is Hawk and Dove issue 3, and then back to Connor for the Curse of Brimstone issue 4, and that's your miserable ending of the month right there. So you can look forward to that. But we did get some questions on Twitter because it is a slower week, and we'll answer those after a little bit of news, which is not a lot. We have like 1 news item this week. It's also a quiet news week, so you know, giving us a nice relaxed week here.
I like that.
Yeah, not for Connor because he's got Red Hood and Brimstone to read, but relaxed in the general sense.
Let the punishment fit the crime.
What crime?
I
Ginger.
don't know. He called them the punishment issues. As far as I knew, they were Patreon issues until this week when they became punishment issues. So,
I mean, they've always felt like punishment issues.
well, because
I mean,
it's.
I mean, I always say, if you want to change mine to a good book, you can. Like that's an option.
Yeah.
Connor, not so much. Give him the shit.
Yeah, but wouldn't it hurt Peter so much more if I had something nice to read?
Yeah, like let's give Connor Action Comics and Pete Redhead.
But wouldn't it hurt Connor even more if I had something good to read whilst he was reading Red Hood and Brimstone? You know, we can do this all day. This logic does not.
But let's not.
They don't have to be DC books, right? They could be literally anything.
We never actually specified, so I guess no.
Yeah.
I guess if they really wanted to, they could pick an on-DC book, but
Yeah, you have Pete Venom.
Well, that's a good book. Don't make him do that.
No, it's okay though. Pete was out after 1 issue. I was out before any issues.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I wasn't that inspired to come back for more. Everyone else is
I'll
loving
tell
it.
you
That's
this.
great. You know, go love
I'll
it.
tell you this much: I'm tired of hearing about it.
It got
I'm
batshit
cranking off my
insane in
lawn.
the last couple issues.
I'm like 2 months behind in any Marvel book right now, so I have no opinions on the Marvels.
As am I. As much as I love Thor, I'm behind.
I'm up to date on Thor.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Alright, so we do have one bit of news. It's kind of a small thing, but notable in and of itself. Scott Snyder can't, help keep his mouth shut, and he happened to drop that Starman is coming to DC Comics again. He's coming to the Justice League, but here's the really notable part. He didn't specify which one that he was going to use, but he did say that there's plans for multiple versions of Starman, and that, where was the exact quote here? I don't want to give away too much, because there are plans for different versions of Starman in different places, Snyder explained. The JSA stuff is going to be going with Ted Knight in some ways.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, yeah, it makes obviously he's more associated with
JSA
the
confirmed.
But
Get on hype train.
I love that. Like, obviously they're teasing JSA stuff in Doomsday Clock, and we were expecting a book at some point. But I just love that nothing is actually official. I feel like he's not supposed to just casually say, "Oh, there's JSA stuff coming," but he's just doing it anyway because he's Scott Snyder.
With how coy he was being about the outsiders.
I
this
know.
Is kind of funny.
Outsiders look such.
It wasn't Snyder that was being coy. It was Hill.
He was being coy as well back when he introduced that stuff.
Yeah, because I remember the phrasing actually at whatever the convention was we got the stream. He said, "Oh, what Brian Hill's doing in Detective Comics and beyond." That was the exact phrase. I think.
Yeah, because I feel like he doesn't want to ruin Brian Hill's surprise versus his own surprise. He's just like, Whatever. Here you go, nerd.
So you're saying JSA is his?
Maybe he might be the one that reintroduces them after Doomsday Clock. We don't know. That'd be cool. I mean,
be okay.
Throw back to the original Flash story, Flash of Two Worlds, right? Like JLA, JSA meet up. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's true.
It could work. Yeah.
The Turtle was a Jay Garrick villain, and we're using that with the Still Force. So
that'd be okay with him on a JSA book.
Yeah, the audience are getting the rare sight of me without the glasses for a second.
No, it's
Honestly,
scary.
There's only a small handful of creators I wouldn't be okay on a JSA book because I just really want a JSA book.
Lobdell.
No, there's quite a few that can just stay away. So
I mean, I'm talking about out of the regular pool of DC writers. There's only a handful that I'm like, no, not them.
But so we're talking about different Starmen, and so he said Ted Knight was maybe more JSA, so it's probably not going to be him. So that means it's either the what was his name, Mikhail, the alien one that was all blue, that Starman.
Given what's going on in Justice League right now, I'd be more inclined to think him.
There's also Jack Knight, which I'm sure they could do something with, even though that ties into Ted Knight.
I think they hold off on him to do stuff with the JSA.
Yeah. But no Knights. I don't think there'll be any Knights because of.
And then there's Tom Caller from the Legion story that Johns did.
Matt's hoping for that one, but I don't think it'll be
cool.
The Legion tie.
But I'm trying to think of how
it would play on to nicely with what happened with Lex, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So I'm just naming all the different Starmen I can off the top of my head. You know,
he's showing off is what he's doing.
Well, I'm not showing off. I'm just like, these are the ones I know of. I do need to read. I've never read Starman, and it's all I hear is good things. But I don't think it's in print right now. I'm hoping that it.
It was last time I looked at it, but
was it?
It was for a long time because they did those big 5 thick books, and that was just kind of there for a while. So.
It was at least in print up to a few years ago when I.
Yeah. But I haven't checked in the last couple of years. But it's one I do. That is one series that I do need to go back and read. It's like I'm doing right now with the Peter David Supergirl, which I'm through 4 or 5 issues. I'm not that impressed.
You are powering through that.
Yeah.
4 or 5 issues is not that much, Connor.
Given he only started the other day.
Okay.
Yeah, I started like Tuesday, Wednesday.
And then he's had, this week's comics as well.
Yeah.
I like what I've read of Peter David Supergirl. I think it's quite interesting as it goes.
I mean, look, I'm really only there because of the Gary Frank art. Like, that's what drew me to it.
I think, Matt, what I'd recommend with Peter David Supergirl is disconnect any idea that this has got anything to do with traditional Supergirl. This is a completely different concept.
That's what I had to do.
Yeah.
So I fell down a hole of what's the deal with the Supergirl, because I felt like it was a fresh, like, oh, it's an issue 1, and then it relied on stuff that happened in Death of Superman and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
and
it's a Supergirl who was created by Lex and was with Lex for a long time and has now realized that Lex is, evil incarnate and is, now been merged with this teenage girl who was trouble and is kind of 50-50 between the two and might also be an angel. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, so as of right now, I'm just she's trying to live as Linda Danvers and as May. So you just can't call her Kara because she's not Kara. But the Supergirl and as Linda Danvers are it's a fun dichotomy, but I had to throw out every expectation I have with Supergirl, and it's so weird.
It's really good and self-contained. Like, I mean, it still connects to the world, but I feel like what I've read of it so far, like, it has a really good supporting cast where you get to know all these different characters around the town, and it's got a small town kind of vibe, and I don't know, I like. I've read the first 2 thick trades, so I've read up to issue 20.
Yeah, I'm reading the first one right now. That was mine after I finished Hawkman, which that series is look, I love Jeff Johns. That series gets a lot of praise, and I don't understand why. Like, it's fine, but it's still all over the place.
It's not up there with these
yeah.
best,
Especially
I've not read it yet. I've only read the crossover issues with JSA.
Yeah, and those are good. Like, that stuff's good, but like you start talking about the Headhunter, and I feel like he was going to do more with that and then just got pulled away to do other things, and that might have impacted it. So I picked up the Peter David Supergirl trade in an effort to get away from so much Johns. So, but I'll be back with...
So you went with Gary Frank, the next best thing.
Right? So, I've begun an image to uphold. So, but JSA is up on the table next. Or maybe Teen Titans. I'm not too sure.
JSA.
Yeah.
So we will do some questions then. I put some feelers out on the Twitters for some questions.
Yeah.
Also, I laughed. I opened up Twitter there, and the first thing I saw was Cullen Bunn says goodbye to the X-Men, and all I could think was, well, the X-Men are happy to see him go.
Couldn't he only just start on them?
Nah, he's
No,
been
he's
writing,
been there
like,
for a
Blue.
while.
Yeah, he's been writing X-Men Blue since the
He
start.
was, he was
I think.
writing the Magneto
Fair
book
enough.
before that, the Uncanny Magneto book, where it's like the team of villains trying to
Yeah,
reform.
and I feel like he was doing like some of the rotating Uncanny X-Men stuff even before that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's been associated
I'm
with X-Men
still
for a long
upset
time.
we didn't get Aquaman versus Cthulhu in his run of Aquaman.
Mm.
That was so cool.
So yeah, so obviously I've got a bunch of questions in. I've picked 4 or 5 that I think are a bit more interesting. So from regular contributor at Talking Superman, if you could make a Justice League based on a genre, theme, or location, what would it be? Now, here's the trouble with this question. I feel like my 2 obvious answers would be horror and sci-fi, but I feel like Justice League Dark's kind of doing that, and then Justice League Odyssey is kind of doing the sci-fi part.
Here, Pete, you can do that though, but they're your own team. You don't have to call it Justice League Dark.
This is true.
You know?
This is true.
So, yeah.
This is true.
I feel like we're all gonna hit our little niches here.
How about
niches.
this? How about a horror Justice League, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they hunt vampires. Now, stay with me. We have essentially a Scooby Gang of sorts.
I knew this was going down that road.
Right?
Yeah.
We have Stargirl be the lead.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Because
Was she chosen?
she'll be chosen, yes. Martian Manhunter will choose her.
Yeah, there you go. She's one of the chosen.
She's the chosen
You
one.
could say. Yeah.
And then that means you got to have, like, say, Plastic Man instead of Xander. I mean, you know, for the side character
comic book.
comedy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Black Alice is this, reformed witch.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I'm just looking. Who's Giles? I'm not even gonna play along now. I just need to know who you're thinking for Giles. Detective
Giles.
Jim?
Maybe. I'm trying to think of someone who feels like a more of a dad figure.
Alfred.
Alfred. Oh, there you go. Alfred's Giles.
Tom King's sassy Alfred.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad. There you go. There's my hit Justice League book.
Yeah, who's
Stargirl
Cordelia?
the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, who you throwing in as Cordelia?
Oh, who do I love to hate or hate to love? That's a good question. Huntress.
Okay.
She's kind of sassy. She's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
I can go with that.
Actually, I wouldn't mind that team. That's a fun team.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking of that. I was trying to think of things that were less outside my obvious picks. Where
Here you go. Swap out Stargirl for Stephanie Brown, and you have a Gotham by
Midnight.
midnight.
Wait a minute. Yeah, okay, now you're onto something.
Yeah,
Stephanie Brown
right?
is a Slayer. Yeah.
Yeah, Stephanie Brown, you have Black Alice.
Yeah, Brian Q. Miller's Batgirl with Stephanie Brown felt very Buffy-like at times.
It did.
With her stuff,
It
so that's not a bad pick. I was trying to think of like wackier things though. Like, I would actually kind of love like The Office, but on the Justice League Watchtower, where we never do any Justice League adventures of actually going and stopping bad guys. It's just the day-to-day boring what they're doing around the Watchtower.
Pete,
series.
you need to go read. I can't believe it's not the Justice League then. Kevin Maguire and
Is that what that is?
That's a great title.
Yeah, that's Maguire and the artist. Oh God, he does breakdowns a lot. I'm drawing a blank. Someone's yelling right now. Whatever device they're listening to this on.
They know. Yeah.
But that's basically what it is. It's the Justice League International lineup, but just kind of hanging out and doing stuff. That's where you get the best blue and the gold. And that's where that joke from Miracle Man came from. The blue and the gold, the red and the yellow and
Now see,
green.
I'm thinking more with the Big Seven though. I really like the idea of office politics, but with Batman, Superman, Flash.
I feel like you get a lot out of that with Hal and Barry.
There you go. Yes. Hal's the gym.
That's
right?
the pairing you've got to have. Yeah.
Yeah. And Hal's the gym, right? He's the gym helper.
Oh yeah, he's got to have the sly looks.
That doesn't make sense. I want Justice League mockumentary, basically, is what I'm saying.
I feel like Batman kind of has to be the Dwight.
In a weird way, yeah. He's not as goofy.
He's not perfect fit, but he's the closest, right?
He takes everything very seriously, and everyone makes fun of him for it. I can see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
So obviously Carol Ferris is the receptionist because we have to have the Jim and Pam dynamic
Right.
going on, right? That just makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
So that makes Catwoman Angela.
Yes. Catwoman's. And she's got cats! In the show, she had cats!
There you go.
She obsessed over cats. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing. She had like
This
50
this
cats
this
or
is
what.
lining up nicely.
It
There we
is.
go. I want gold here. This is gold. Now, here's the real question, though: is who is the? Oh, I forgot his name. The old guy, the mysterious
Toby?
one. Who,
Oh,
no,
Creed?
Creed, yes, the one who had
That's
this
John.
mysterious life that everyone didn't know about.
No, that's John Jones. You
Is
play
that-
him up for laughs.
I don't know, because
Yeah.
I feel like what you want with him is you want a character who, from the sounds of it, leads the best adventurous life outside of the Watchtower, but we never see or hear about it, right? It's just all these little hints that he has even
And-
bigger adventures in the Justice League entirely.
Kind of terrifying though, right?
Yes,
What about
but
Aquaman?
Kind of
terrifying.
creepy.
Yes.
Yeah. Throw Aquaman in that. I just gotta say, while we're talking The Office, the time he shows up with blood and he says it's not part of his costume, I die every time.
It's so good.
Because that, so they base, so Creed
Lucky it was
meant,
Halloween.
Yeah, it was Halloween. He goes, oh, this is not part of my costume. Creed was just meant to be a background character, and then the actual guy was such a good improver that they turned him into this creepy old man that might be murdering people. You know, like he could be the Scranton Strangler. So,
Yeah.
I love it.
Damn, early
It's
Office
just-
was so good. It's such a shame what
Yeah.
happened in the last few seasons.
Seasons 2 through 5 are like bar none my favorite.
Yeah. So yeah. So we'll end this Office silliness here, but yeah, that's my jokey answer. I mean, it's kind of serious. I kind of do like the idea of just like a sitcom Justice League,
Mhm.
but yeah, but
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
I feel-
it's just that's what you do with Green Lantern Corps.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's true. Because that was the other thing. Like when I think of sci-fi, I'm like, obviously Odyssey's going to do some of that stuff, but I feel like all the other things I would think of, it's more of a Green Lantern story than it is a Justice League story.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah. Yeah.
But you know.
So Connor, what's yours?
I don't know. This is a weird one because I don't necessarily like my Justice League teams being all these other weird things. I want a Justice League
let's
team,
make-
right?
Make it an Elseworlds, you know? That's the approach I took. You know, you make it one of those Elseworlds where it's like the Justice Riders, right? And they're all Western themed.
Yeah, yeah.
Fit it
okay.
in there, you know?
Yeah, so like I said, I would have definitely gone with a sci-fi team. Again, we're getting that. Magic, that's kind of been covered, right?
Yeah, but again, but you guys, it's your team. Like,
Yeah,
your
your
DC's come
team-
to you and be like,
Well,
hey,
to be fair, genre
what
was
I
only...
want is I want Demon Knights, but just as a
Okay.
Justice League title.
contemporary Demon Knights.
To be fair, genre was only like
Yes.
one of the. I mean, you could base it on a
Yeah.
location. Like you'd have Justice League France
Detroit.
or whatever. Like,
Who wants France?
it was the first
Even the
country that came out of my
French
head.
don't
All
want
right. What do you want?
Spoken like a true Englishman.
Hey, actually, you could have Justice League Ginger and have Wally, have Mira, have
Guy,
the guy. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. Who else? we
Ivy
got?
shows up. trying to
Roy.
reform.
Oh, it's Ginger, right? I'm not.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I want Roy there.
So when people are worried that he's the one dying in Heroes in Crisis, we're like, oh, phew, bullet dodged.
But
I'm okay if Roy bites it.
yeah, but it's an overdose. It has
I
nothing to do with the story. King just kills him off because he doesn't like him.
I could live with him dying. Protect Kyle at all costs. Kyle and Wally
Starfire's on that team.
must protect at all costs.
I want
Oh,
this team now.
Starfire, yeah.
goddammit.
Starfire, yeah.
There you
Oh.
go.
I'm
Justice League
fine with
Ginger.
Kyle dying as well.
JLG.
Justice League Ginger. I'm buying that book right now.
Take it.
Yeah.
Look, I've got to support it somehow. Otherwise, I'm going to lose every ginger.
They're dropping like flies.
They're all being replaced, and
you-
obviously Jimmy Olsen's in it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's the snapper car, or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
Matt, you got? Did you have one?
Oh yeah, big time. So this is an idea that I've wanted since forever, and it's you set it back in the pulp times, and you take these pulp heroes, and you know you got Adam Strange, but he's got an actual jetpack like the Rocketeer, you know, and I'd throw Guy Gardner on there, but it's the yeah. Oh no, these are all rough and tumble, punch in the face guys, you know. Wildcat's there as a former boxer.
I can live with that pick.
Um,
That's fine.
Yeah, but no, Guy Gardner has basically Sentinel's powers, Alan Scott's. It's the magic ring. because this is all pulp style stuff. You'd have to throw in Hawkman.
I mean, I'd rather have Alan
obviously.
Scott, but it's your team, so you rock out.
And Vixen, you throw her in because of the totems, and it's just basically Morrison did a version of this that I really loved in Multiversity, where it was like the pulp era, but they were all Justice Society characters, and I always wanted to do my own team that was like an Elseworlds, where it was like Doc Savage, the Shadow kind of time. You know, everything's Art Deco, and they're going on these adventures.
This is so Matt.
I know.
Yeah, no, it is.
Hey, I've got a last minute pitch for you. How about, I don't know what I'm calling it, Justice League Air, right? I don't know why I'm calling that because I want to lead it to be Kite Man, right? But Justice League, hell yeah, there you go, call it that. But the idea being is that a bunch of C and D-listers who are kind of villains all decide they want to prove themselves to the real Justice League that they've reformed, so they form their own Justice League and try and help.
You're kind of describing Secret Six here.
No, but Secret Six is not as comedic. Those guys were running their own mission.
Yeah,
you know,
this is more like a team of goofballs who are trying to prove that they want to help and they can help. And you can have your uplifting thing at the end of the first arc where they actually kind of inadvertently help the main Justice League stop something.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm surprised Matt didn't go with a Viking Justice League team.
Well, what do you do? Like, I want a Viking Prince book, but you don't want to. Like, Viking Superman doesn't make a lot of sense, you know. So
no.
You'd have to have the Rocket land in Viking times and whatnot. So, but I could workshop one right now between Wonder Woman and Batman. They're easy to place, you know.
Yeah.
So,
we'll move on though. Talking Superman also asked what is the Looney Tune DC crossover you'd pitch, but I thought that was too political. So I think instead I'm going to go with at Sweet Exorcist's question is what do we think of Comicgate? I'm proud of that.
You could see me and Matt going, where are you going with this?
Yeah, because Looney Tunes, I go, what happened with Warner Brothers? What did I miss? They didn't put those banned things up on YouTube, did they?
Oh, God.
Like the 13 banned ones?
Oh, God, no, I hope not. So, I mean, let's not actually spend time on that. Just sum that up as saying that they're a bunch of fuckers and whiny little pathetic losers.
It's not. It's not
it.
Criticism. It's harassment, and that's just where it ends. Like
comics are for everyone. I can't remember the whole tweet, but Tom Taylor started a tweet chain this week that was everyone was tweeting the same phrase on Twitter about comics being all inclusive. I echo that sentiment.
And I echo the same sentiment. Like if you're friends with somebody, you can give them crap about what they like. But if you don't know somebody and you don't like what they're reading, just leave them alone. Like I can give Connor crap for reading Venom because Connor's a friend. He knows it's not actually personal.
And I know you're wrong, so it's fine.
And that's fine, right? Or Pete can roll his eyes when I pick up the new Brianwood Viking book, right? Like that's all
awesome,
fine.
though.
But he's not going to sit there and fire off 18 tweets on how I'm an idiot that's ruining the comics industry because I'm buying Brianwood, Viking books or whatever.
Matt is single-handedly keeping that market alive.
I am.
Yeah. Oh, Matt, I'll be able to tell you, there was a comic book that's just been picked up for a movie called My Boyfriend is a Bear or something to that effect.
Shut up.
No, this is true.
Yeah, it's about a girl who decides that she wants to date this bear, and everyone disapproves, but she's dating a bear.
I'm finding this. This is the best thing I've heard since Shirtless Bear Fighter.
Oh, you'd love it.
Yeah. So, but no, that's just it. Comics are for everybody, and just like when it comes to movie criticism, just because you have an opinion, it doesn't make it the end all be all. Yeah,
and that's even just ignoring the fact that most of it's just sexist, racist bullshit.
Yeah,
let's be honest. That is what's fueling the vast majority of it.
And when certain personalities get involved in it, it makes me like their work less, and that sucks.
We've never really talked about this on the show because I don't really want to drag down the show by talking about it. But I think it's important to just make it clear where we stand on this subject.
Yeah.
So
that's all. What I don't like is when certain creators just have to be jerks about things, and it's just like it makes me enjoy their work less, and I try to not let that impact. You try to separate industry versus the artist, right? And that's not the right word, but the art from the artistry. Yeah. but once you know certain things, you see people certain acts, it makes it very, very hard to enjoy their work, and that's the shame in it for me. But then on the opposite, I see people like that I already like Jeff Lemire finally saying something, and someone with such a he has such a reach that it's good that these bigger creators are finally speaking out against this type of stuff, like Tom Taylor. I mean,
yeah, you got a lot of the old guard speaking out this week as well.
Mm-hmm. So, and also the name I was looking for about that, I can't believe it's not the Justice League, was Keith Giffen. It just came to me. So,
Cool.
because you said old guard, and I was like, oh yeah, like Keith Giffen. He's been working in comics forever. Oh, that's who I was looking for.
All right, so next question at Stargirl Talk asked us, what Marvel writer would you like to come and have a run on a DC book? And then specified, ideally one that's not really written for DC before, meaning don't pick Mark Waid.
Right.
Because that was going to be your first choice.
No, I already know what Matt's pick is, so it's fine. I'll let him have that one.
Oh, Jason Aaron, yeah, sure, there you go.
Yeah.
Do you know what's funny about this? Much like the other question about the different Justice Leagues, is that I feel like my answer a year ago would have been like, oh, that'd be interesting. Bendis, what he would do on some stuff.
Yeah.
And then I might have said, oh, G. Willow Wilson, but she's about to start a Wonder Woman run.
Yeah.
So.
Does
Here's
it
my
have to
problem.
be someone working for Marvel right now, or just someone who is associated with Marvel?
There's no rules, I don't think.
Yeah, but who though hasn't worked for both companies at this point?
I mean,
besides Johns.
Well,
Like, and even John.
Well, John has done some stuff, but I think like just doing a few issues or whatever, like on the other side, is not really. I think the point is someone you associate more with one who's not really done much with the other one. I would say, even though he does Injustice, I would say that I would love Tom Taylor to come and do like a proper mainline DC book.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he did Earth 2. That's what led to Earth Justice. He took over for Robinson on Earth 2 back in the New 52.
Oh yeah, but I mean something more prominent than that. I mean that was what the tail end of a book that most people had forgotten about by the time.
Actually, he had more issues on it than Robinson did.
Did
he took over
but the point I'm making though is that I didn't even know the book still existed for the last however long it went on.
Yeah.
Well,
and someone else came in
it's
too.
pretty damn good.
When it became the it wasn't weekly, but I forget what the second version of it was. I don't think he was writing anymore. I think he had already left to go to Marvel.
Yeah, what was it?
Post conversions.
What was that called? Yeah, it had a different title, didn't it?
Yeah. But like here's my thing. I don't know too many people that write for Marvel because I don't read too much Marvel right now, so I don't know. Like I know names. Like I have a lot of friends that like Donny Cates, but I haven't read any Donny Cates.
I'm reading 2 of his books at the minute.
Yeah. Here's Punisher. I think he's doing Punisher. No, Rosenberg. That's the other one.
Rosenberg's doing Punisher. Yeah.
Yeah,
Rosenberg's okay. I read Return of Jean Grey or whatever it was called. Resurrection of Jean Grey. That's what it was called. That was not bad.
Al Ewing.
Hulk. Yeah, the first issue of Hulk I really liked. So I mean, I guess I'll say Al Ewing, but I've only read one issue by him, so it's not a lot to go on.
I've read the 4 issues of Hulk. Plus, I've read his 16, 17 issues of Loki, Agent of Asgard.
Yeah.
And I thought that was excellent. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely like Al Ewing.
Yeah. Al Ewing doing like a lower tier kind of. I don't want to say Swamp Thing, but like around that type.
I mean that feels really obvious because he's doing Hulk, but he would be really good on Swamp Thing.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to say Swamp Thing, but I didn't want to say Zatanna either. But like something along those lines, Fate. Ooh, Dr. Fate.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, and you do the darker side of him.
Yeah.
Which I got to that point in the Justice Society with Naboo, and I forgot about that when he flips on him.
Yeah.
With the Black Adam stuff, and I was like, oh, wow, this is fun to read right after Justice League Dark.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, I like all those, but for me, it's Kieran Gillen. He's not working on any Marvel books right now. He's just solely doing his own stuff at Image at the minute. But
I have somehow avoided reading a single Kieran Gillen comic. I think ever.
Star Wars was fine. Like his.
Oh, that's true. That's still going at Marvel.
He
I
wrote
kind of
one of
forget
my
that's separate.
favorite issues. I think it was the Star Wars. It was either the Star Wars annual or the Vader annual that dealt with the spy.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets deep undercover with the Empire, and it's one of those stories that you could interchange the setting, and if you make it about the Cold War or you make it about World War II, it still fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, but it's done a lot of Marvel stuff. Big stuff on runs on Journey into Mystery and is Young Avengers. is my favorite Marvel book, bar none, that I've ever read. It's fantastic.
Mm.
I'd love to. He does excellent with teams and ensemble casts. He has a lot of really unique voices that can play off each other well. I wouldn't put him on like a Justice League team though, because I think I don't think he does too well with just here's the bombastic stuff.
Yeah, you like him when he has a more controlled, like him on
Yeah.
Vader, where he was just focusing on Vader was great because it was a singular focus with big ideas.
Yeah, but I think Justice League is maybe a bit too bombastic for him. But I think a Justice Society would do really well. I think he could play that really nicely.
We're waiting for someone to say Hickman, but I don't think any of us
No,
really enjoy Hickman.
No,
And I fear
really care about
he's in the wings for Legion of
He's been in the
Superheroes.
wings for Legion for 2.5 years.
I know, and that scares me. I would like to see. I haven't read a lot of Matt Fraction, but the Matt Fraction stuff I have read, I think he'd be fun on a smaller
I mean,
book.
I liked his Hawkeye. That was good.
Mm-hmm. His Immortal Iron Fist, him and Brubaker's Immortal Iron Fist, one of my
That's
favorite
good,
ones.
Yeah, well, I never
Of
tried that,
anything.
but I tried his Iron Man. I couldn't get into it. I read the first arc. I was like, it's kind of forgettable. I just kind of left it.
Yeah. His Thor's pretty decent, like because it's older school Thor, like very much opposite of what Aaron's doing.
But
It
I mean,
got-
Fraction's not even at Marvel anymore either, really, right? I mean,
No, but
No, he just
but
does
you're saying
image stuff as well.
Yeah, but you're talking about people that are more associated, and I associate him with Marvel from his time there. So
Yeah, I think he's really good at comedic things for action.
Yeah.
When it's got a strange comedy bent to it.
Well,
that's
given
when
that
he's at his best.
his Hawkeye is the book I like from him, that makes some
Pizza
sense.
Dog.
Yeah, I like Sex Criminals. That's him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a solid book.
Him and Zdarsky.
All right, so Irish B4 asked, what hero do you think has the most need for a brand new A-list villain? What type of villain would be most effective for that character? Who do you think's missing an A-list villain? Who's lacking in the villains? It's definitely not Batman. He's got plenty. He's good. Superman arguably has
I
got
like that.
plenty as well.
Well, Bendis is stepping that up right now in action. He's doing that whole secret mob of Metropolis thing. So that's cool.
I mean, time will tell if we think of them as A-list villains
Yeah.
down the line.
I actually think it's just the Green Lantern Corps in general. I
Yeah.
think that there's been a lot of attempts over the last few years. Nothing's really stuck. Yeah, honestly, ever since we introduced all the different corps, we kind of focused on those
Rainbow.
too much. And I think we need and they've tried to get back to
Yeah, I mean,
here's a proper villain. but-
Necron then is probably the last real big
Yeah.
villain
Pete,
for the
you're
Corps.
underselling Cyborg Superman. Okay? Jurgens loves that guy. Which, talking about that, I had the realization, like, Cyborg Superman's been kind of floating around the Green Lantern Corps since his inception as Cyborg Superman. Because he was responsible for the destruction of Coast City, right? That led to Hal snapping and becoming
Yeah.
Parallax. Then he shows back up in Sinestro Corps War. Now he shows back up in the Green Lanterns. So I feel like he's up there now. He's become kind of a. I'd still put him at a B list. But
Yeah, I think they just need, like, what have we had over the past couple of years? They did a Relic. They tried that didn't
that
work.
was terrible. Asher needs to be a villain. I love the nobility behind him, but I like what Snyder's doing by making him a heavy again. You know.
Yeah,
that
like I said, I think it needs someone fresh entirely. I don't know what it is that it needs. Is the problem? I can't quite figure it out.
My vote's for Green Arrow. I feel like Green Arrow needs some solid villains.
I can get behind that. I think he needs
Yeah.
a solid like nemesis.
Yeah, he needs his Joker. That's not not a version of himself like Merlin or whatever. He needs someone that's
Yeah, I mean, because that's in a lot of ways the biggest crime that comic books have as a whole, is that so many of the big villains are just the evil version of whatever they, and that's fine. It's okay that they all have that, but you need to have a wider variety. Than that.
And let's be honest, the best villains are the ones that are different. You know, Joker to Batman, Lex to Superman.
But- But to that I say you have Flash and Reverse Flash, or Wally and Zoom.
Yeah,
those
it's not
perfect
always the case.
analogs.
But often it is. I mean, obviously with Flash, she's got a great. I mean, obviously Captain Cold's different, and Turtle's
Gorilla
the opposite.
He's a telepathic gorilla that fights a man that runs real fast. Like, that makes zero sense, but it works.
But Flash is kind of the exception. Just thinking about the major DC characters, he's the exception where his best villain probably is the one who's just the evil version of him, as opposed to all the rest where,
well,
I wouldn't say
and when you get,
Cheetah is just an evil version of Wonder Woman. She's different enough.
well, that's why Kale was so great, because she was kind of a combination of all of those. Because you could see where she's jealous like Lex, right? But you could also see where she's, you know, just wanting to bring her down like Joker and Batman. So,
to be fair, actually, Green Lantern, Sinestro's kind of the best villain, so I suppose, yeah, he's an evil version of a Lantern, so that's fair.
Right? But he started as a Green Lantern. That's what I like on the twist. Like, he was a corrupt cop that just went and joined the mob.
Yeah, it just works from the space cop angle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Training Day.
I mean, there's a bit more to it, but it's still kind of the evil version of what the main character is.
Yeah, Green Arrow and Wonder Woman are probably my two, because as much as I love Veronica Cale, she doesn't get used that much. Like, it's kind of Rucka or nothing when it comes to Cale.
Wonder Woman's weird because there's Veronica, we got Cheetah, Ares. There are like some big villains that go, sure.
Jason.
Never mention that name again.
No, I know, but he's a villain in my eyes, so it's fine. But
not through any strength of writing, though.
Yeah. I'm going through the Justice League lineup, and even some of the other ones, and I really can't think of. Because Nightwing right now kind of has a routine cast.
I feel like
Barbara's do with a villain that's not just a Batman villain knockoff.
Yeah,
hand me down.
Because Barbara's got her brother, and that works really well for her. That's fairly personal, and that works as well. More on that later. Nightwing probably could use an actual outright nemesis, and they kind of tried to with Raptor. Raptor was pretty good. I don't know if I'd call him A-list, though. I don't think he got quite to that level.
Well, they did that with the Talon stuff, too, when Higgins was on him. You know, they had the guy that was like him, that came from the circus, and then Raptor almost was like a continuation of that. Yeah, I would say Raptor is probably the best Nightwing villain to come out in the last 10 years.
Yeah, they're trying with Nightwing. They're really trying. Yeah. They're just not quite there, are they?
No.
I think what they have to do is, rather than to have someone that's the opposite or the same as him, someone who's more like Batman. Give him a villain who's like Batman.
Ooh.
Well, I think that was part of the intention of Raptor originally, right? You know, because Raptor was like almost like he became the mentor, right? He kind of filled that role
in different ways, though. But no, I hear what Pete's saying. Like, so there's that character that gets underutilized. He popped up on, I forget what site I was browsing last week, but Wrath, who's like the evil version of Batman, or Prometheus, someone who's like methodical, but
someone who plans, because Raptor, personality-wise was completely different. Whereas I'm thinking almost like an evil, twisted version of how Batman actually acts and how he actually carries out his things. The idea being that Dick essentially has to fight Batman to win, even though it's not really Batman. Like, I think maybe they could do something with that, and they could turn it into an A-list Dick villain.
Be cool.
That must have been done, right?
I'm sure somewhere in some. I mean, Dick as Robin and Nightwing's been around for 70 years, so. I'm sure. I'm sure somewhere.
Cat.
Yeah.
You're not gonna overthink it. He literally just pulled something down, it landed on the floor, and he ran away like a scared little shit. Like, no wonder it fell down. You pulled at it. What?
Yeah.
All
Great
cats
story.
Are awful.
Compelling and rich.
That's so wonderful. You shut your ginger face.
But yeah.
You're talking to me
Next
like
question.
That's the last question. That's us. We're done.
Okay. Gotcha.
That'll actually no, there was one more. We'll do one more. We'll do one a little bit different that's not strictly comics related. This is from Sweet Exorcist 7. I mean, he asked the comics gate question, but let's give him something that's a bit more cheery. What was the last great non-comic book movie you saw in theaters?
Oh, jeez.
In theaters,
which tells you the last couple of months has not been great, because we're thinking of like, what was the last?
Let me go to my log.
The last great one.
Yeah, I'm checking my diary as well. In theaters, okay, that's quite the.
It's tough.
Incredibles 2.
I'm pulling up my letterbox here.
Yeah.
Incredibles 2, no question.
Yeah, no, mine's Jurassic World 2.
That's not great, Matt. Come on.
Oh, for me it was.
It's Kong all over again.
I mean, I had fun with it.
Oh no, wait. Wait till November. That's this year's Kong Skull Island.
What's
Just
November?
wait.
November.
The one not Cloverfield movie.
Oh, Overlord.
World War II. Overlord.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
no, I haven't been to the movies a ton this summer.
Summer's
Yeah.
been kind of lackluster.
It's been lackluster, yeah. It's about to get quite busy. The next few months are looking quite good, but it's been a bit of a rough summer.
Yeah. Incredibles 2 stands
Talk,
out.
had we done this after I see that new Oscar Isaac, that might have been there. The Nazi hunting movie. I can't think of the name of it right now. But I think I'm going to see that tomorrow. So,
Cool.
It's probably A Quiet Place.
Man,
Which
that was like
April.
months
Ah.
ago.
Yeah, that was April for the record. It's been a lukewarm summer. There's not been a lot to like inspire me out to.
I thought the first third of the year was not bad.
no?
I felt like I was going to the cinema pretty often, like there was some good stuff. And then it just hit a drought from like, June maybe.
Well, if it was the best movie I've watched since, the last really good one, I'd have to say Table 19. That was really
Was
good.
that good? I heard some mixed things about it, so never got around to it.
It was really good.
I'll add it to the list.
It's already on mine because Anna Kendrick's in
Yeah.
it.
And then there's another one called Brigsby Bear that I really, really enjoyed.
No, I mean the last great movie I watched in general was probably Women in the Dunes, which is a Japanese movie from 1964 that I watched with Connor for Influx. But
Yeah, that was great.
See, and I really wanted to say the Meg, but I wasn't hot on the Meg, so
Of all the people not to
I know.
be
Yes,
hot on
that
the
movie's
neck.
like made for you.
It was, but as I've told other people, it's not. It takes itself too seriously, and it's like there's no room for that in that. You want it more Deep Blue Sea, and less Dante's Peak. That was my review.
Okay. Well, yeah, that kind of wraps up quite. In terms of movies, though, there's more movies coming. We do review movies. If you weren't aware, if you just listen to the comics podcast, me and Matt typically do the new movies. Although not always. Sometimes Connor will tag in depending on what the movie is. Me and Tim do Screams, which is the horror movies. Me and Connor do older movies. But yeah, those go up on the channel, the Multiverse TV channel, and then there's also audio feeds for.
While we're mentioning this, might be worth mentioning that we're trying out a new format as well with some shorter, spoiler-free reviews.
Yeah, scripted reviews. The first one went up this week. It was for Summer of '84, which I did. I will typically always be doing the voiceover, but I won't necessarily be the one writing them all. But I did write that one. So that review went up this week. So about 5 minutes long, spoiler free. So if you're curious about the movie, you can check it out. And I'm in the middle of the next one at the moment, actually. So
Nice.
But hey, but yeah, we'll move on. Let's talk about books.
Yeah.
So question time is done. Book time is on. I've scrolled down on my document now. Let me scroll back up. So we're going to start off with Batgirl number 26. Mairghread Scott writing and Paul Pelletier.
On the name.
Yes.
I forgot to mention this and stuff. I went to school with a girl who spelled her name very similar.
Okay.
Who said Mairghread.
Okay.
Mairghread.
Yeah.
It's like Sinead.
There is 2 R's, because I was thinking of this, because last time you said ignore the G, and I said, okay, sure, but there's a second R afterwards. So I wasn't convinced it was Mairghread, because that's what we were saying last time.
Yeah, that's the thing, Mairghread. It was spelled not exactly the same, but similar.
Okay.
And maybe this is still not right, but it looks like I can see it.
Okay. Mairghread Scott. We'll go with it. This sounds like a name. Sounds real.
We are going to check this one day.
Yes. Paul Pelletier on the art. So
So you guys are like, oh, you have to read Batgirl first because
it might matter, Matt. Not because we knew it would, but because it might matter.
Guess what? It didn't matter.
So that doesn't.
I was deprived reading the James Jr. story until halfway through the week. Okay, I'm a little salty. Because I listened to you guys and it didn't matter.
I regret nothing. Nothing. This was still the safe option to take. Just because you could have done the more risky one and it would have paid off for you. Not that it really mattered to anyone else. No one cared. Everyone was just like, yeah, I'll just read 26 first. It's fine. It's just you. It's just you being you.
No, Duke still sucks. That's me being me. This is me just being salty.
So this picks up basically where the story in issue 25 left off, where she's chasing what's his face, Grotesque, and there's these murders and she's chasing them, and the issue is kind of this big action scene where she chases him into a building and ultimately results in her getting tased, which affects the chip that lets her walk. I hate when they bring this up because I like to roll my eyes at it, and she struggles to walk afterwards, and she has some sort of weird like flashes of what's going on. So it's like she's in a daze, and then she's falling through the building, and then she's like, okay, I'm going to go look into stuff in Gotham because that's where he's going. And she goes to the police station and kind of uses her, I'm the commissioner's daughter charm to get in the door, and ends up having a seizure, and that's how we end the issue. That's our big cliffhanger. Is that she's not in a good place.
And we get that after the shock, it's affecting her eidetic memory. Which I think that's a nice wrinkle, because I feel like some of the other writers that have taken on Babs since Rebirth, not that they lean on the eidetic memory too much, but it does come up a lot in stories.
I think the point is we just never really play with it. It's always just, okay, that's there.
Exactly. And I like that Scott is playing with it, because we had the stuff in the last issue where she's noticing things and get the little notes. And here now it's almost like it's short-circuiting.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that is there as well before that happens. There's or it's in the annual, but it was in some of the books that I read this week with Barbara.
Yeah,
so it sure was.
So I like that she's doing that with the character. It's adding a nice little wrinkle, and just the falling scene I thought was really well handled. As she's falling out of the building.
Yeah, the layouts are quite
she's
cool.
Like flashing in and out.
Yeah, I like the flashing lights. Almost as like in the background, it's almost like that's what she's seeing as she's falling, because she can't really make heads or tails of what's in her line of vision. And she's just beat to shit. She goes through a rough time in this one, and she's trying to use her memory to like remember what was in the room, and she kind of does. It kind of works, but then she starts having freaky moments later. Like it's like she's getting some images, but she's not really remembering it properly.
It's
she's
fuzzy.
She's getting flashes, and she doesn't know what it was supposed to represent. Like, okay, well, they were super well armed with security, so why would they be so well armed with security to protect this? And it's just not making it adding up to her, and then that's where it goes into her seizure.
Yeah. Also, worth mentioning, our suit, especially her cape, gets torn to shit. So set up for why she needs the other outfit next issue. Yeah.
Excited for that.
Which makes some sense. So this was pretty much an action-focused issue. It was her chasing Grotesque in the building, the pursuit, the fight, the fall, and then of course the cliffhanger at the end with the seizure. So I was into it. I thought it was a pretty good follow-up to the first part of this arc in the last issue. I think it just hit the ground running. It was like, okay, we're going to do a big action thing. We'll worry about more sort of teasing the mystery and the chase next week. And I think giving her some actual physical issues at the end of this issue is like, okay, right, there's some stakes here because he's actually affected her in a way that's kind of concerning. Like, she just falls down. They need an ambulance. Like, it's not even like she's in a fight and she gets hit and she's knocked out. It's like, no, she goes down. Yeah. It feels vulnerable, So that was into it.
I do mostly like the art in this issue as well.
Yeah, Pelletier is pretty decent.
Yeah,
I like
lots of nice stylistic choices with all like the reds.
I think I like the layouts from Pelletier most of all. I think his core art is like a solid B+, but his layouts are very good.
Yeah, I will say it won me back after a major misstep on like the second page. Where
there we go. The cross wasn't in one panel, and then the next panel.
No, she just has one really big boob for no reason. In the bottom panel on the side. Like, just, all of a sudden I was like, well, okay, that looks weird.
Connor was paying close attention to that part of the image, of course.
It sticks out because it's pretty big. And I was like, what's going on here? And it's never like that again in the issue. That was the thing. It was like, that's why it stuck out to me.
Is that what she's on the bike?
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks wrong.
Well, it's weird physics.
Yeah,
just the way...
It's because she's hunching forward. It almost looks like she's just got more of a big stomach than she does a boob.
Yeah, it's all just weird placement, size, the angle, everything about it just looks wrong, and I was like, okay, not the best thing. A second page, make a good first impression to me. You don't want it to work your way back up. But then it did all the nice things with all the reds and the layouts, so I forgave it by the end.
Yeah, I like the flashback scenes with her dad as well. I thought those had a nice color palette.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, just feels a little bit more,
I think it's Bel Air on the colours, right?
tinted.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it is. Also, I do dig she has when she's talking to the police via text message, she's got like a goofy little Batgirl face
Like emoji.
image. Yeah.
Yeah.
I shouldn't like that as much as I do, but I kind of do.
I think it's funny, given that you hated all the hipster stuff before, but that you love.
Well, it's completely random, and you don't like to laugh at random for random's sake. But I wasn't expecting it, and it's also the hello GCPD. A crime is being committed at these coordinates. Won't you help me stop it? Just like a,
Yeah.
And it's funny because she gives Dick shit in the Nightwing annual for giving a journalist his comm link, but she's texting the GCPD.
Yeah, well,
that's the police. There's a difference.
It is a difference. I'm just saying, it's still very casual feeling, is what I'm saying. Very casual.
Well, yeah.
Little happy display pic. Hey, GCPD.
That's maybe something you should call out the group editor for. Who's the group editor for the Bat family?
I can't remember.
That's on the. Hang on. Let's find a credits page. Group editor is Jamie S. Rich. There we go.
Also,
we should be calling out.
When she gets zapped with the taser, I actually really, because it does the whole X-ray thing where you see like her skeleton, right? But I really like that it shows you not just her head lighting up, but also the chip in her spine. Because the chip in the spine's obvious because it's like, that's what's like, she's having she's having trouble walking again after this moment, right? And that makes sense. But the head kind of like, even though there's not like any direct effects immediately. So if you go back and look at it, I guess like, oh yeah, her head gets messed. I mean, her head's way brighter than her chip in the back.
Yeah, no, I think it's supposed to be a backwards link because she talks about how the chip in the spine connects directly to her brain.
Mm-hmm.
So here the chips gets fried. So is that sending feedback essentially?
Right.
Back up the chain.
It's short circuiting.
Yeah.
And also, there is I don't know if Simone ever did this, but it's almost funny to me that no one's tried since she's been walking again with the chip. That no one's done a thing where she is literally losing her legs in a fight. Has someone done it that I've just not seen?
I think Simone did a bit where the chip didn't entirely work, but I think it was a psychosomatic.
Right. Okay.
Was the idea? She wasn't entirely comfortable with walking again yet.
Right. Because here it was like, oh man, this is really vulnerable. The idea that she's in the middle of a fight and she's starting to collapse and not be able to fight back. Like that was interesting to me, in terms of setting up the stakes. So, yeah. I don't know, I'm happy with this new run. So obviously we got more to talk about in a second with the annual, but that's a standalone story.
Yeah, and introduce that new detective. I think it was Evan. Where's it at?
Yeah, Blandy make love interest. Yes.
Yeah, Evan Kennedy Douglas from Bloodhaven. So. I just like when they add supporting cast.
Also, I'm glad Barbara's kind of been written as just more of a young 20-something again, and not a 16-year-old. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Not that Hope Larson was doing too much of that stuff, but I feel like here, her getting out of that police station the way she does just feels a little bit more grown up than.
Well, she's the boss's daughter.
Yeah.
I like how she plays that up.
Like, and part of it's just down to her clothes. Like, just what they've dressed her in just feels a little bit more mature.
And do you think she's still going to school for library science? I think that's still going to be her.
She's probably on a break while she's in Gotham because she's away.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think she'll still be doing that.
is in Gotham, I thought.
It's like a suburb of Gotham, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had this before where it feels like it's kind of just outside Gotham. It's not it's its own little thing.
I just thought it was like a gentrified piece of Gotham.
No, because that was the impression I had for quite a while. I remember talking about this maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay.
Maybe it was an episode that you missed.
Maybe.
And there was some dialogue in it in one of the issues that definitively placed it outside of Gotham. And
okay.
I thought it was weird.
I kind of like it in the idea that you've got Gotham and then you've got Bloodhaven, which is a neighbouring city, which is not as big,
Atlantic
but
City.
obviously still huge. And then you have Burnside, which is more of a big town, which is also sort of in the region, sort of in between the two or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like if Gotham's New York, then like Bloodhaven's in Jersey, and then Burnside's kind of upstate. Up.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. What we need is
we need a map,
a definitive map. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things in comics. It's that and the sports teams for the different DC.
The Gotham is it Knights? Or is
it all depends. I've said this numerous times. So if this ever gets to DC, I would buy a Metropolis Meteors hat. We all know I wear hats all the time. I would buy, or even a Keystone Combines, hockey hat. Like I'd be all for those. So but I like the geography of the DC universe, just to see where these cities are and whatnot.
All right, so we'll rate Batgirl 26 then, shall we? Matt, what are you giving it?
Oh, it's a solid 7.5. Nice jump in for Scott. I mean, it's almost not the first, but it feels like it's part one.
Yeah, I mean, it's following on, but it's still. I feel like you could read this without having read that opening. It kind of recaps it a little bit if you didn't get it. But I think that story in Batgirl 25 does add more creepiness to it, because that's more the sort of the creepy crime scene part of it. But Cara, what are you giving it?
Yeah, no, I agree with 7.5. I think it's a really solid issue, but it's mostly just an action issue. So it's very good, but I don't think art's quite good enough to elevate it above that for an action issue.
That's fair. My gut's saying 8. I don't really have much of a reason to say why it's half a point higher than you two, but my gut's just saying 8, so I'll give it an 8. So my heart can speak for itself.
You do you.
Alright, that'll take us out to Batgirl Annual number 2, and you guys looked up how to say her name, so go on.
Yeah, so we were kind of both right. Mairghread is the Gaelic pronunciation, the original the pronunciation of that name.
Mairghread.
However,
right.
She has tweeted in the past that she goes by the Americanized saying of it, which is just Mairghread.
Mairghread.
Yes.
Yeah, rhymes with air. So Mairghread.
Yes.
Mairghread. Alright.
Yeah.
I feel like people probably just shorten it to Mary, assuming she lets them do that.
Yeah. I mean, apparently it's Gaelic for Margaret, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll call her Marge then, alright.
Maggie.
Yeah, okay, so Mairghread Scott. Right, there you go.
Mairghread.
Mairghread. I have to say both R's? Oh, come on. That's just cruel.
Yeah. Mairghread.
Mairghread.
There you go.
Alright. Mairghread
Say
Scott.
it like an American, Pete.
Alright, so it's... No. Alright, so the Batgirl Annual, also by Mairghread Scott, with art by Elena Casagrande, is a standalone story, but it's an interesting one. And while it is standalone, I feel like the ending is kind of hinting that this is set up for something down the line in the book.
Yeah.
It does feel like here's something that's going to come up later in the run.
Yeah. And that is her brother, James Gordon Jr. There's a series of murders that are very weird, where all the victims died of a heart attack, but after the death were stabbed as if they were running from the attacker, and the blades correspond. Babs does a whole detective vision thing where she can see them getting chased down and sliced and whatnot, and she's working with the cops, and she's looking into it, and then she realizes where she recognizes the murder scene from, the specific the way that the person died. It's a movie she used to watch as a kid. And by the way, if you want me to connect with Barbara Gordon anymore, telling me she grew up watching slasher movies with her dad, like, all right, okay.
I knew Pete was gonna love this issue.
Me too.
Yeah, I was reading this on the bus home earlier, and I was like, okay, so you're telling me this is an issue about a slasher movie?
Mm-hmm.
Pete, this is Pete's issue of the week.
You don't know that yet.
Oh, I know that.
You don't know that yet.
Well, you don't know how he feels about Hawk and Dove yet.
All I know is it's slasher movies combined with James Gordon Jr. He's a sucker for this.
This is true. So she basically realizes this is a James Gordon Jr. special. I specifically like the panel where she falls asleep researching, and she wakes up with like a bit of paper stuck to her cheek. That amuses me. I don't know. It's one of those little safe place moments. But we get this Hannibal Lecter-esque scene where she goes to see her brother at Blackgate. He's never allowed to be moved.
I like that he's in Blackgate, not Arkham, right?
Yeah, because he's
in actual prison.
Sure, he's crazy, but he's more of a traditional serial killer than a Gotham serial killer.
Right.
Yeah. I think there's a case to be made that maybe he belongs in Arkham.
There's a case, yeah.
And maybe the system is failing him by just throwing him in Blackgate.
Yeah, because Arkham's doing such a good job with all their criminals.
In theory, I'm not saying Arkham's succeeding.
I think what I like
Iron Heights. I think Wolf would get a kick out of him.
Because what we were saying earlier on about Dick not having his thing, right?
Yeah.
About not having his villain. I like the idea that Babs' villains, the good ones, might be more like traditional like criminals, like serial killers and stuff, because you basically say, okay, she's more like it's a Silence of the Lambs. She's Khalees Starling, and she has her Hannibal Lecter brother, and she tackles those types of criminals. And it's not to say that she can't have the big supervillains and stuff, because she does it sometimes. But I feel like James Gordon's by far been the most interesting of her villains, and I think not just because it's personal, but because there's this like real like grisly nature to it.
Well, and it's intellect versus intellect.
Yes,
right. They're both smart in different ways.
Yeah, it's a sense of genuine like evil, but it's relatable evil, right? It's a very real kind of evil.
And it's funny, as much as we talk about Batman being a detective, I feel like giving her the more straight up serial killer, this is a detective trying to outsmart a killer, she actually fits really well into that role, given her intelligence and whatnot. So it works. But so they have a bit of back and forth, and we find out he's got a bunch of love letters from crazy broads who like serial killers, because that's a thing. And tries to like play on her memory, and she's not very happy about it. And obviously they recount a little bit of the history for anyone who doesn't know what he did in the past. And even brings up, I know you're Batgirl, and I didn't tell anyone. I don't want to torture you like that. I have my own ways to torture you. I don't want to do it that way. Which I like, very evil. So she goes on the hunt, and I love that this scene where she comes and speaks to him is like half the issue. This has so many pages in this book.
It does, yeah.
Well, and you get their relationship throughout that, and it's like you can tell she still cares about her brother, but he's looking at her like, well, what does she want?
And she clearly doesn't want to. Like she really doesn't want to care, but she does.
No, but she can't help it because she's Barbara, But I just love their dichotomy.
But so she goes home with these letters, and she's trying to track down who might be the copycat, whoever this person is. One of his followers is probably the killer. And she drinks booze, which she doesn't normally do. And I like her reasoning is that she deals with so much dark stuff that it would be really easy to always do this whenever something got really tough, and she doesn't want to rely on it, so she doesn't do it. But her brother is just enough to push her over that edge.
Family usually is the one that does it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That's true. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that a ginger doesn't drink, but I mean, I'll buy it from Babs.
I will say that
I don't know what you're talking about.
When my dad visits, that's the only time I wonder what alcohol tastes like. So.
Yeah, so she checks out a couple of the potentials, and one's already like locked up for stabbing someone else, and so it couldn't have been her.
Yeah, she is like legit crazy, like.
Oh, straight jacket, blue hair, like Joker looking smile,
Yeah.
Full on.
And then she gets to the second one, which was a bit. It reminded me of something in a David Fincher movie.
Oh, it was really depressing. But I actually really like that this is something that ended with Barbara not being able to help her fix it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was really sad because this girl who's obsessed with her brother and talks about wanting to follow in his footsteps and so on. It turns out she's abused by her father. And he comes in and Babs ends up fighting him, and she tries to stick up for her. But then the girl's like, no, get away, stop hitting my dad. And she like sticks up for her dad. And she's this victim who is trapped and doesn't want help.
Did you think it was actually her dad? Because I got the impression this was the boyfriend that he called daddy.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's fair.
That's how I took it.
Change the context of this, and I want to know which way we're coming down on this.
Let me look at the dialogue again specifically where I got dad, because at one point she did call him daddy, right?
She calls him daddy all the time, yeah. But I think that's what. It's when he's like, oh, who the hell's James? Who's this other guy? And he's getting this jealous rage.
I guess I just took that as more the father who doesn't want his daughter near anyone, rather than
Well, no, I took it because it's a girl writing a serial killer. Like, this is her twisted, that's...
Oh, sure. No, that's fair. That's fair.
There's also a bit in Babs' narration, she puts daddy in quotation marks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. That's something I just skimmed past there and didn't really think much about.
Well, and that was in the letter, too, that she's reading from this character. Where is she?
Earlier on with all the other little bits.
Yeah, it's the first one says, hurt so bad, daddy, but puppy remembers. So there's more going on there than...
Like this is unhealthy as shit. And there's this really sadness to it where Barbara just kind of has to leave, and she can't really help or fix it because she doesn't want help. And it's the idea that she's abused so much that she's seeking solace in her serial killer brother. Right? That's how bad she's messed up by this. And she loses her shit. She throws her laptop across the screen. Well, of course, the panel, I should say. What I actually, I will say, if I have a critique about this moment where she gets really angry and throws the laptop away, is that I feel like seeing her in socks undermines her pain in the next page.
Why?
But it's just the way she's kicking her legs up and she's got socks on. I feel like socks. Okay, this is a weird thing, alright? But as someone who typically doesn't walk around in just socks, right?
Yes, we know Stuart's rage.
Yes, you know this about me. I don't like doing it. She looks too comfortable.
No, she looks like she's at home.
Yeah.
How often do we watch, or not watch, how often do we see in comic books characters walking around in their socks?
Yeah, but that's why
Probably
it
not
stands out.
enough. That's the point. She's
Like,
at home. She's sat on the sofa.
If she was wearing her boots still, I could see
If she was
what
wearing
you're talking
shoes
about.
up on the sofa, I'd be questioning what's wrong with her. Most people don't feel a
slippers.
need to wear shoes at all times.
Slippers, house shoes,
What
that type of
I'm
stuff.
saying is that panel where she's holding her hands up to her face, she looks like a kid. I'm seeing a child kicking and screaming. That's what I'm saying.
This is only a degree better than the cross issue.
I'm just saying, she looks more like she's a 12-year-old kicking and screaming because she's not getting her way in that panel.
Yo,
I mean,
how you guys act when you get frustrated? Because I kick and scream.
I can see Matt doing it, admittedly.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is I've not walked about in my socks since I was a kid, so this feels like a really kid thing to
I
me.
walk by in my socks all the time because otherwise your feet get cold.
Look,
I don't wear shoes.
I admit this is weird. I admit this is more just me than it is the book itself. But to me, this looks like a kid who's kicking and screaming.
I mean, I could make a devil's advocate argument that maybe that was the point, is to show that how James and her regress into childhood.
Okay, all right.
She's like, I don't believe it, but I could make that argument if I wanted.
I do agree that she might look a little young in that particular panel, but I think it's to do with just the facial, the little bit of the face that you can see more than anything. I don't think the socks have anything to do with it.
I think it's
the pose itself, maybe.
The artist just doesn't like drawing toes.
No, look, I'm maybe focusing too much on the socks for the joke here, but I do think the way the legs are up in the air feels more kid-like.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like an adult who's frustrated kicks the legs up in the air like that.
So my main issue comes with the reveal on who's been doing this. Okay. Just as I feel like it wasn't set up enough. It is really it's not really a Deus Ex Machina, but it is just kind of like I still don't understand.
I mean,
why.
I don't think you can say it wasn't set up enough, just because I don't feel like no outcome was set up. I don't think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the main problem. I just feel like if the girl that it when you find out, so she goes to the last one and then she works at a hospital, right? She's a doctor.
Yeah, no, that was the thing. It wasn't any of the letters because James would respect anyone who's been writing the letters like this. So it was someone who was visiting him in person.
Right. So, and then it was just like, oh well, James found me. You know, and picked me out. Wait.
I think to play just the other side here, Matt, you're saying, oh no, it's not set up.
All right.
I agree. I think this is the setup. I think this is the setup
for later
in the run.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me.
Itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the standalone, it was just kind of like out of left field. Like it was this girl, and then I'm still not quite sure. Like, so did James piece together that this girl was doing all this killing through the obituaries? Like, I didn't know obituaries were that detailed. That's what I'm not following. How James found her.
I'd have to go back and read that.
That's fair. It does say, James, he picked up on me through the obituaries. I wonder if it was, people that were close to her, or people that she knew, and he saw that he recognized the pattern.
Yeah.
And so he reached out to her, but again, that might all just be. But for something that I felt was meant to be standalone, this just came out of left field, But I still enjoyed the rest of the story. Like, it didn't kill the story for me, especially for what it means with James. Because it feels like he's now attracting these types, and he's almost he can do as much chaos as he can from a jail cell.
Oh yeah,
that's it. That ending page is him going and sitting down and writing a letter to someone else, going, "Hey, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm here to help."
Yeah, it's him being a counselor for serial killers to teach them how to be better at it. Which is really sick, and she even admits she's probably going to come back and visit him. It's funny actually. I was saying earlier how that panel next to the couch, she looks really young. I think she looks the oldest I've seen her in a long time in those last few pages when she's visiting him again. She's wearing like a suit, and she looks like she looks like closer to 30 at this point.
Yeah.
I think that is maybe the part of the point is that she I said she regressed a bit. She was young. She was like but then by the end, it's like, no, she's been forced to grow up, and like, okay, no, she's got to deal with this.
She's holding strong. She's putting on a front of strength for when she's going to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far through these issues, I'm really confident in Scott having a really good run on Barbara.
Yeah.
Like I like her take on the character so far. Like nothing feels like a regression because you never want that from creator to creator. Like you're taking steps back. This feels like the same Barbara, just advanced a little more.
Yeah, and that regression is often an easy step to take, just kind of revert to the last safe spot for the character.
Yeah, I'm glad she's not doing that. That's a good point. What do you think of the art by Casagrande?
It reminds me a lot of Riley Rossimo, just more clean. Like it rides this line. It's as I call it, it's not art for everyone. Like if someone's like, I didn't like the way it looked, I totally understand. I
thought it was fairly solid. There was a couple of panels here or there where I thought the mouths looked a little bit too small and thin, if that makes any sense. They looked just almost like just a couple of lines, and it felt a little bit off to me.
Fair. I think I preferred it to the art in the Batgirl issue, the regular issue.
Okay.
No. I prefer Pelletier.
And I will say I think having Belair on the colors really helped kind of tie the two together, giving it a consistent palette. So it still feels like it's part of the same, cohesive story, even though this isn't the next part. It still feels like part of that run.
Yeah, I mean it is part of the. I have no doubts that this James Gordon stuff's going to be.
But it's not part of the grotesque story.
Yeah, but it still feels cohesive with that story as a whole.
Yeah, I mean they might put us at the start of the first trade of Mairghread stuff, or they might hold it until we get to the James Gordon Jr. story and just put the annual in at the start of that.
Or put it at the end of the first trade potentially.
Yeah. The reason why I'd say maybe not to that is because she still has her old suit. This might be set before it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's turn edit, isn't
it?
But
it's still priming for whatever's coming next.
Yeah.
So. I think it depends if we're getting the James stuff next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. I'm looking forward to getting our suit next time though, so that's cool.
Yeah.
For issue 27, but should be back on week 4 next month. So, week 4, busy week 4. Matt, what are you giving the Batgirl annual?
This was an 8. I liked it a little bit more than the single issue. I do love the James and Barbara stuff, and I just there's little stuff a little weaker, but I think as a whole I enjoyed the issue more.
Cool, Connor.
Yeah, 8 as well. I think. It's really solid, but the James stuff gives it an extra edge.
8.5. There's one step above. Yeah.
But it was based on a slasher movie. Of course, he loved it.
Yeah. I mean, the art dipped here or there, but overall, I like the look of it. I love the James stuff. I like the fact that the middle girl, the middle suspect, was such a dark, sad kind of story that she couldn't really help with, and she just kind of had to accept that and leave. I like that. It was like, no, you can't fix everything. That goes back and again to Barbara dealing with more real horrors, real things. You can't fix everything. So I like that. So that was the Batgirl annual number 2. That'll take us on to the Nightwing annual number 1. Benjamin Percy writing, Otto Schmidt on art. Well, that team back together again. It's like the old days in Green Arrow.
Felt very Green Arrow as well. Like I almost feel like this could have popped up during the who are the bad guys?
The Ninth Circle?
The Ninth Circle. I feel like the dark. You substitute the name Dark Web for Ninth Circle, and you're still in game.
Maybe that's a critique that they're too similar. He's not doing
and that's not
things.
a critique. It's Ben Percy doing what Ben Percy does. Like he hits, and that's fine.
Joe, I'll say I love the idea that Dick has fun flirting with Vicky Vale just because it's someone who used to date Bruce.
Yep.
And she doesn't know that she's flirting with. I mean, she knows that Nightwing and Batman, are of course, related, but she doesn't know that Bruce is Batman. So
I feel that that's just Vicky's setting because that's how she gets people to open up.
oh sure, yeah,
You know.
yeah, but everyone's gonna flirt with Dick because
Have
Dick.
you've seen his behind,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Like-
well, I mean, that glute master's not there for nothing.
Yeah, man. I love when they play with stuff like that. Like it's well known he has the best glutes in the DC universe.
So this one is about. So we're still playing with the dark web stuff. Barbara helps Dick back on his feet. She also gives him a new big truck. There's this new. Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded. If you ever seen Universal Soldier, the first Universal Soldier movie, their base was like in a truck.
It was like a comm center.
Yeah. And this is what this is like. It's like a rolling back cave, as he puts it. But because she knows him, she's like, "Oh, I've got that shitty cereal you like. I've got these different, these various things around the place on top of the usual equipment. Plus, here's a new fancy bike, which for the more intimate, intricate movement as you're going around zipping and whizzing a by. So, whizzing a by is what I meant to say. So that's fast. That's okay. So we've got a new sort of like base for Dick, which is cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I think what I like the most though is that Dick during this scene when he's like sort of narrating, he's kind of talking about how okay, sure, I'm flirting with the Vicky, but I mean, Barbara feels like home. Like what? It doesn't matter what else happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I dug that. But
of course you did.
And Connor, what's the face you're making?
I just I really didn't want to go back to the Dick Bab stuff. And
you're wrong. You're just wrong.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, here's the thing, though. This is what I appreciate about this issue. So, he's really aggressively flirting with Vicky Vale. And I'm like, oh, so is Percy going to get away from the Dick and Bab stuff? And it feels like he's getting towards that line. And then when you get to Barbara just feels right. Barbara feels home. Like, all of that led up to that. And I really liked that turn that it made where he was like, oh, no, it's Dick and Bab's forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. I don't think they're that great together. I think they're good together, and I think I know this thing. I think they were a fantastic pairing when they were both younger, and the idea that we're both in Gotham. There's limited options. Of course, they ended up together, but as they went out into the larger DC universe at whole, I think that there's better matches out there for them. That we often talk about how Dick is the heart and soul of the DC universe, and how he has ties to all the different groups.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just putting him with Babs and putting him with I think it's a disservice to his character, frankly.
Oh, I disagree.
Yeah, I completely disagree.
I like that there's that unresolved stuff with Starfire. I don't even know if they've almost gotten married still, if that's still continuity.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But I like that they do have a history, but he still goes back to Babs.
It's kind of what he says in this issue. She's home. She's it doesn't matter where he goes and what he goes off and does. When he comes back with her, it's like back to what feels right. That's
the thing I just don't agree with. That doesn't feel right to me.
Makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. I am so glad that the writers seem to agree with me and not Connor.
Like I was saying, I was worried that he was going to undo it just to add something different, because that's what I thought the Vicky Vale stuff was. And then as it goes on, I started to get more worried, and then this scene happens.
Yeah, I feel like
in the truck.
I feel like there's some nice synergy here between the Batgirl 25 and then this. I feel like the group editor here, or at least Scott and Percy might be colluding a little bit to make it all feel right.
If they announced like a Dick and Babs book, like that'd be cool. If that's what this is kind of leading to.
I don't think it's leading to that, but I'd be down for it.
Yeah, like I could see that because they've been rolling around, not rolling around. That sounded dirty. They've been, in each other's orbit more recently, or more often than not recently. So, but no, this issue, the
feed.
Percy, Percy and his not so subtle critique of what's going on in the real world is back again.
Yes.
Which again made me feel like
It did again, two on the nose. It did not need you actually name dropping deep fakes.
Oh sure, yeah.
No.
So, do you know what I liked about it though? I liked that there was a bit of a swerve when the feed first popped up and he said, "Oh, you can't trust the news. We're going to be your honest and reliable news." I liked it immediately, and like the next page, it was like, no, the newspapers they're saying to one stand are saying the complete opposite from what the news stand at the other side of the city's saying. I kind of like that, just in a like, no, they're going like super fake news. Like they're just like, you know, like there's riots over here, they're not happening. There's stuff over here.
Yeah, so they're
happening.
not
That's
taking
not
a morsel of truth in the fake news, so it feels like, oh, maybe this person that's calling it fake knows what they're talking about. They're completely making up fake news and putting it against other fake news.
Yeah,
like it's a whole.
And it's also worth mentioning they've also hacked every single newspaper newsroom, so they're pumping out all their stuff through all their channels.
They're the sole media in Gotham City right now. Like that's it.
I will say, like, I'm cool with Dick being in Gotham and doing that kind of stuff, but I do think it's a bit weird that there's not even like Batman showing up and like, hey, why has my city been taken over? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this is so big in Gotham that Batman would be involved. He'd show up and have an opinion.
He's
on
on
this.
vacation.
It is. No, Batman doesn't take a vacation. We've learned this. When he goes and tampers with the jury.
That's what we learned. That's what's happening at the minute. He's in jury duty.
Yeah, well, then how come Dick's not dressed as Batman?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's daytime.
Yeah, so it is Percy, but it is what I love about Percy is that it is sloppy, but it's sloppy in a way that's endearing.
Actually, speaking of sloppy, I actually loved when Dick tries to chase the assistant dude, but he's like, this is the problem with fluorescent lights, you can't be really sneaky, and you just see this big wide shot of him chasing this guy down. It looks really goofy, like just running in the bright lights in this costume. And I kind of like that. It was like kind of like shining a light on him and being like, yeah, this is kind of silly when you're not doing it in the shadows and on the rooftops and the nightscape and all that.
Also, the thumb drive that was actually a thumb, that gave me a good laugh. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Count his fingers. Oh, he only has 4. Something's up. And the thumb sticking out of the side of a computer in a USB port, and I was just like, that's good. Yeah. Percy, you've done good.
Also, the woman, the entity that was like the spokesperson for the feed, when she went like all demonic, like evil at the end with the big teeth, I was like, oh, she looks kind of cool. Like I'm digging the monstrosity of the design.
I have zero idea where this is going. Like I know it goes in with Worm, and whatnot, but I don't know. It definitely feels like he's running back the Ninth Circle, but just as the Dark Web. So.
I think that's part of why I'm not feeling it so much. I feel like we just had this story, and this doesn't feel fresh enough. It doesn't feel like you've replaced Ollie with Dick, and you've replaced Dino with Babs.
And I feel like you could have put in the flirting and stuff. That could have been the news person from Star City.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm not really feeling. I'm like it just feels like more of the same, which. If this was just more Green Arrow, would be fine because I wanted more of the same. But when you come to do something new, you come on a new book, you've got to bring something new to it. You can't just use the same thing again. And that's kind of what this feels like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really argue with that. But
Schmidt's art looks good, though. I like his Vicky Vale. Like, it was cool seeing her again. I will say that.
Yeah, she's got a nice attitude to her in this, just in terms of visuals as well as the dialogue.
In terms of art, the only problems I had were a couple of times where Babs' lips, like on the second page, she's meant to be biting her bottom lip, but it looks just...
Yeah, that's my main problem with Schmidt. I like how angular and stuff it is. It feels very stylized, but sometimes the faces look a little flat.
Yeah.
Like there's no depth to them, so...
I think what it is that a lot of the time he doesn't draw lips.
Right.
And... you get away with that until you start putting lips on some characters, but not others, and then they look a bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, is it my favourite of his Nightwing issues so far? It might be. I kind of like the threat to the city. The stuff with Vicky's a lot of fun. The stuff with Babs is kind of sweet. The overall threat is kind of interesting. I like the design of the evil news lady when she goes full demon at the end. I have very little to complain about. I can't argue that it's basically just doing the same beats that Green Arrow did. I think that's a fair complaint to make, but ultimately, is it bothering me that much? As of now, it's not.
Fair enough.
As of now, I don't really care. I mean, it might bother me later if I feel like it's just doing the exact same story overall, but I mean, it could be going in a completely different direction once it actually, picks up or whatever.
Yeah,
it's even like, you know how, okay, he's got the roving Batmobile now, and I'm like, didn't we do a road trip with Ollie?
Yeah, but I don't think he's gonna have a road trip.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna be a road trip. I think that's making a leap.
No,
Okay.
that's just him, and I get it because you don't want to have him have the Nightwing cave or whatever. So I like that it strikes him different.
I feel like this is just going to be something he has in Bloodhaven. Around. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. It was just like, okay, are we doing that in 2 or 3 arcs time now?
I feel like you're jumping the gun a little bit because you've made this connection now, and you're being a little bit cynical.
Oh, maybe, but once I felt the connection, it felt like some of these things were related to that as well. Not for necessarily, immediately he's going on a road trip, but just more like, okay, that's there if he wants to now. Like, that's there for him to use. And it felt that's all I noticed.
I think if he eventually goes on a road trip, that's the point where you say he's just doing the exact same run again. I think at this point, it's fair to critique it and say it's a very similar thing so far, and a lot of the same building blocks are the same. Like, you've got Babs instead of Diana, it's Dick instead of Ollie, the Dark Webs instead of the Ninth Circle, and there's all these correlations you can make. But I don't think until you can actually put all, like, okay, that's that arc, and then that's that arc. Until you can say, no, Force Awakens is A New Hope, and then the next one's Empire Strikes Back. Once we can get to that point and we can just like say, no, that's that one and that's that one, then I think it's more of a problem. But
no, it might be. I think it was just it's so noticeable because this is right at the start of the story.
Well, it doesn't help that Otto Schmidt either.
No, that probably doesn't help bring him back a key artist from that run. It just evokes it even more.
I don't think the first arc was super similar to Nightwing though, or to Green Arrow as much though. Like,
no, it was
because I can't think of a correlation for Willem in like that revelation, right?
No, I'm not saying it's the exact same thing, but there's a lot of the same beats. Like, he's getting himself into a groove. But I like Percy enough that I'm willing to see where it goes, and I don't think he's going to run it back. But like Pete's saying, once it gets there, if he goes out and off of Bloodhaven, there's this floating, yacht that's the tech thing, then we're going to have some issues. But until then, it'll
just be digital. No, it'll be in VR, Matt, but it'll be the same thing, just in VR. The hidey hole. Yeah.
There was enough that was here that I liked, like the Vicky Vale stuff. I really like the fact that she's constantly drinking a triple shot Americano. It's like, how much caffeine is this woman getting in a day?
Yeah, for me, I think the character stuff's all working, and I don't have this weird issue with Dick and Babs that Connor does.
Yeah, as long as the character stuff's up. Yeah, well, as long as the character stuff's up, I can deal with lazy plot, kind of. Because as long as I care what Dick's going through, I like that he's made him a Luddite that doesn't understand technology and whatnot. Like, that's fun. So,
on that point, I thought he was weirdly competent with technology in this issue. Where he's like, okay, when you get a virus, you don't try and flush down. You shut it all down, you trap it in, and you cleanse it from there.
Yeah. Babs told him that. No, but Babs told him specifically that a few issues ago.
No, that's fair, but it just the way he speaks with such authority in this issue on everything related to it.
Well, that just told me he was being a bit cocky because of what Babs told him.
No, maybe
I know how to deal with this now. You cut it off from the source, and then it's like, now it's stuck. Yeah.
It felt like he was suddenly just, okay, I know exactly what to do.
Yeah, it's just because that little bit of narration stuck out to me, but it stuck out to me because Babs said almost the exact same thing to him, word for word, like a few issues ago, and I think that's why he's saying it. It's because Babs taught him that. He's just reiterating it completely.
Fair enough.
No, I mean, I'm having fun with it. I feel like, because this is the weird thing. I don't think Green Arrow was ever that great plot-wise either. Like, it was solid.
Yeah. But here's the difference. It was the first time it was that plot. I mean, so it was enjoyable, it was exciting, it was fresh.
Well, yeah, I mean that's true, but ultimately, in like 5 years' time, if I look back in these two runs and they're both pretty similar, ultimately I'm probably going to pick Nightwing over Green Arrow just because I like Nightwing more. At that point, it's just out of taste. Like, to me, it doesn't really matter that much which one was first. I guess is what I'm saying.
I say I do because one's original and one's not. Like, I'll go with the original first. Because at least that was what he did with Ollie was something new, right? We hadn't seen Ollie come up against, this banking syndicate or whatever.
Sure.
But now that we're seeing Nightwing go against this web whoever is behind all
I
of
mean, it
this.
depends
we
how
still don't
similar
know.
it is. I feel like
Yeah.
I think we're shoehorning a lot of notions into how similar this run might end up being, just based
Yeah,
on
and that's it.
suspicions of
I
an
like
issue
Percy
in an
enough.
arc.
Yeah, I like Percy enough that I'm still. It's like I don't care if it's running it back. I just wanted to point out that I thought that it was running it back. I'm still going to read Nightwing because I enjoy his Nightwing. Like I enjoy his.
I think that's the thing as well for me is I'm not enjoying his voice for Nightwing as much. I think the voice itself's okay, but yeah, I've said making him. Matt, you said you like making him a Luddite. I don't like that. I don't. I'm not a fan of. Okay, let's make him nostalgic and go back to Babs.
Well, no, I just
that
like
stuff's not working for me. And if those are the core beats that like Pete's saying, okay, the plot doesn't really matter if the character stuff's there.
Yeah.
If that's the character stuff, and I'm not really enjoying that either.
I get that. That's consistent. I understand that, but I like that he's kind of a lunkhead too.
Because for me that was kind of the same thing for Green Arrow. Is the plot is fine. Like the Ninth Circle was fine, but I wasn't excited by the Ninth Circle. I was excited because Dick and Ollie and Dinah, their relationship and how he was with Emmy and the art was always great. Like that was what I loved about Green Arrow.
Yeah, let's not sleep on the fact that Emmy fought an actual dragon though. Like,
I will say on that, I think the designs were better in Green Arrow.
Well,
like,
yes,
for the Ninth Circle and stuff versus the web so far.
Oh, sure, that's fair. I mean, that's just out of taste, but that's fair.
No, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I did enjoy this art, although I do like Schmidt already, because I haven't been really enjoying the art that we have gotten in Nightwing, so that was a step up, despite the blackness.
Though, Oliver never had that cool visor, so,
Well, and that's why it was better. Automatically.
Yeah, now, the way I want to think I'm arguing that the Nightwing run's already better than Green Arrow. I'm not, and I'm not saying it even will be. I'm just saying that if we get to the end and they're a very similar level of quality and they're very similar stories, ultimately I might pick Nightwing over Green Arrow just because I like the character more. I'm more invested in Dick than I am Ollie. But I mean, that's just assuming that they measure up so equally.
Sorry, I'm 12 years old.
What did I say about Dick? I said something. I don't even know what I said, but I said something about Dick.
You said that dicks measure up equally.
No, you said you're more interested in Dick, and I can't. I'm sorry.
Damn it, Matt. All right. Shall we rate the issue then before we drive ourselves back? Oh, we should just mention they've kidnapped Vicky and Willem's there, although he might be the one who kidnapped her. It's hard to tell. But they're there, and I assume he's been kidnapped as well, because she even says, "I will kill your friends" in plural. So I assume that he's also.
Well, we know that Willem was being used, right?
Like, so Willem's also been held captive, and that's the cliffhanger. Because this is the thing. Unlike Batgirl, even though Batgirl seems like it will be important later on, this was
definitely in the next chapter.
Yeah, this is just the next chapter of the story. This one, so
which is something I'm against in annuals. Personally.
Oh, I'm not.
I don't like feeling obligated to pay the extra, $5 issue in a month to get part of the story. I like them being a bonus thing that, hey, if you want something extra, here you go.
I get that thinking. I get that thinking, but what I always come back to is I hate when I get an annual, it's a standalone thing, and it ends up sucking. And it feels like just a pointless extra thing. And sometimes standalone annual stories can be great. They can be. There's examples of them being fantastic. But typically I feel safer when it's just the next chapter, is what I'm saying.
All right. So rating.
Yeah, it's rating. Matt, what are you giving it?
This is a... I go 7.5. This ties Batgirl 26.
Connor.
5.5.
7.5 from me as well. I agree with Matt. Alright, that'll take us out of the Silencer Annual number 1. Dan Abnett writing, Jack Herbert on the art. Me and Connor read this. Well, I assume Connor read it.
Matt's done now.
That's a good point.
I'm just going to interject occasionally as I check football scores.
Yeah, that's fine. So, we'll make this swift, hopefully, for the rest of the show, because we have 4 books that me and Connor read this one, and the next 3 is either me or Connor read. So this is a flashback issue. There's a little bookend at the start and the end with the home life of Honor and her family, and they're playing the PS4, which is clearly the PS4 because the controller is very, very clearly the
No, it is. It is.
And they're playing games, and there's the little joke there of he's trying don't miss the assassin, Dad, kill the assassin. Amusing. But it's a flashback story to when she first met her husband in Gotham. Although that doesn't actually end up factoring that much into the story. It's just kind of like there. It's part of the story. But she's in Gotham on a job.
Happens at the end.
Yeah, she's in Gotham for Talia on a job, to kill. What's the big guy's name? The big villain dude.
It was a stupid name. I remember that.
It was like Reaper or something, but he was like big and bulky, so I didn't even think of the name.
No, it was. I remember looking at it and I was like, that was a stupid name. I'm gonna find the page.
It
where
doesn't
he
fit
enters.
him. Is what my main complaint was.
I just tried to answer having never read Silencer, just because I wanted to feel helpful.
The Reaper.
The Reaper, yeah. It was like, if you tell me someone's the Reaper, I assume they're going to be really like thin and sleek and like deadly and menacing.
This is like
the Knights have a fourth line winger whose name is Ryan Reeves, and his nickname is the Reaper. But that's because he just punches people out. So, yeah.
Matt was speaking German there for a second. I don't understand a word of it. So, but he's this big bulky dude. But it turns out, because we think she's there to do something with Batman, and you know, Talia is like talking to her over the comm, saying, avoid the detective this, the detective that. He'll be part of my family. He doesn't know it yet. This is clearly before he knows he's got a son, because 8 years ago. And it turns out the mission's actually to stop the Reaper, because the Reaper's going there to kill Batman. As if Batman needs the protection. that's the real funny thing here to me, is that Talia thinks he needs the help, but Silencer's there to stop this guy from killing Batman, and she interjects, like she disobeys Talia because she sees like someone being mugged with a gang, and she jumps in and like kills all the gang members, and then wonders why the family are still terrified like from her afterwards. Like, you just blatantly shot them all in the head. That was pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
And then Batman shows up, and we get a bit of Batman Silencer action.
I think that's probably my favorite bit of the issue, because there's no dialogue, there's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 3-4 pages of this fight, and I think it's when the art's at its best,
and
where
silence,
it's just allowed to shine. Yeah,
that's good. That is probably the best part. And then the big dude shows up, and it's kind of like, okay, so it's goofy comic book stuff now. Although there was still some fun fighting towards the end when it went silent again.
There's a giant sword, because this dude's like 9-10 foot tall.
Yeah.
And he has a sword of appropriate length, and she picks it up at one point, and it's far too big. It's stupidly big, like to the point where I almost did a double take of like, is that an art mistake? And I was like, no, it's just that big.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Cloud sword from Final Fantasy VII.
Bigger.
Did Matt just make a Final Fantasy VII reference? What is happening?
I did.
Yeah, it's longer. It's not as thick as that.
Gotcha.
It's much longer.
Are we still talking about Dick?
Pete, you're the one that said you're interested in it, so you should be describing.
I'm just saying. There's a lot of talk about length and thickness and shaft sizes. I'm just saying. There's a lot of dick talk going on.
Apparently, swords are comparable to dicks. What do you want me to say?
Well, they're both used to penetrate. So yeah. So
I use a slash.
Sure, you do both. Admittedly,
I'm just saying.
Is pork sword a regional thing then?
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because where I grew up, that was a very common nickname.
Oh yeah, I never heard pork sword growing up. That's a you thing.
Yeah, your pork sword.
Nah.
That sounds like something that Ron Swanson would eat.
It's a meat, but also a murder weapon. That's why he would like that.
Yeah. That must be regional.
I'm pretty sure it is. So I mean, the issue is pretty solid in terms of action. It is. It kind of falls into what I was saying a second ago about annuals, where it feels kind of unimportant. Like, if you skip this, you would never feel like you missed anything.
No, but that's what I prefer out of annuals. I like this just being a nice little bonus of, hey, I got a nice little thing that fleshes out some context. It's like, here's a cool little scene with her with Batman, and just some context of the family.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have to critique it, because at the end, the whole kind of point is that, Talia doesn't realise that she taught me how important family was, and that'll bite her when she comes for me next, or whatever, right? And all I could feel like, yeah, I've already had this attitude from Honor like the entire run. Like, I feel like it added nothing to who the character is, or what her mentality is.
That's fair, but I thought it was just an enjoyable enough issue.
It was okay. I didn't feel like it justified its existence, which is usually my fear with standalone annuals.
Fair enough.
It was fine. Like I said, the best part was in the middle when she was fighting Batman. It was all silent, but ultimately it amounted to like a little side story that, like, it'd have been cool if it revealed something new about our relationship with Talia. That it was like, okay, this is like another underlying thing that we'll have in our heads now, in the main plot as she's like battling her and trying to hunt her down. But it was just kind of like, oh yeah, no, this is exactly what she's been saying and acting and talking about since issue 1. So I don't know.
No, fair enough. Well, because I had fun with it. I think mostly like the middle section. I thought the fight scenes were really really fun, and giant sword. What do you want?
And even a proper sized sword that's not silly, unlike that silly Final Fantasy VII with its stupid Buster Sword. I'm upsetting all the fans.
Still shocked Matt was the one that made that reference.
Yeah, sorry.
All the Final Fantasy fans are screaming.
And she does chop off his head in a pretty cool way. I like the art with the silhouette of that and just the blood red spurting out of the neck.
Yeah, I like the decapitation was cool. I like a good bit of gore. You know I do.
Yeah.
Just for the record, as stupid as the Buster Sword might be, it's not as stupid as that stupid gun blade from the 8th game, Final Fantasy VIII. That's even worse. Dumb. You swing that blade, you're breaking your goddamn wrist, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, your wrists just aren't strong enough.
Wow.
You say that as if I know this because I tried it. As if this is not.
Say you're interested.
Purely
you're
theoretical.
In taking your strong wrists. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he would say I don't have strong wrists.
I know, but you were arguing, so I would say that I'm gonna err to Pete's side. He has strong wrists because he's interested in dick. This joke, man.
It's never ending, is it?
No.
I'm pretty sure we're all about 12.
Yeah, there's a character named Dick. We can't stop making dick jokes. All right, let's rate the Silencer Annual. Connor, what are you giving it?
That's a solid 7 from me.
More of a 6 for me. I feel like it never just like it's like yeah you can skip this and you wouldn't feel like you missed anything. It's not good enough to recommend going and spending the $5 on it. Red Hood time, baby.
Get it?
Yeah.
Issue 24, Scott Lobdell and whoever's on the art. Connor, you can fill it in.
There was 2. Dexter Soy and... Let me find the credits page.
Brett Booth.
It wasn't Brett Booth, no. Alison Borges, who she was on last issue as well, I believe.
Okay.
I was so confused when I started this issue that I had to double check I was on the right issue. I was like, I did read 23 last month, right? Because I had no idea what was going on. It starts with them as a team. You got Jason there, obviously. Then you got Artemis, and you got Bizarro in a different outfit, I might add, but he's there. And then you've got Pup, the little Superman doll.
Yeah.
And then you've got Starfire and Arsenal and the Creeper. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And there's a catchphrase. It's Outlaws Onward. Which.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. It's just this. Okay, there's this couple of pages fight scenes. There's this thing going on. It's maybe 3 pages. Sorry, there's a double page spread in there as well. So if you count that, 4 pages of the issue is this at the start, and it's just Bizarro watching a movie. He's losing his. He's regressing. He's sat on the couch in his big floating fortress thing, watching this as a movie. I'm like, what the hell's happening? I don't know. I just. But then we get to the actual bulk of the issue, which is continuing with Jason and how his stuff with the Penguin from last issue. Penguin's being honoured for something or other. They're like, yeah, he's actually all right. The usual Penguin stuff that you get in Gotham, right? Where, oh yeah, he's a businessman. He's bringing in jobs. He's legit.
How do they keep finding ways to honour the Penguin? I don't. Come on.
I don't know. What are they? What is the event itself? He's rebuilt. By the sounds of it, he's put a lot of money into rebuilding the Monster Town. Where Night of the Monster Men was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's rebuilt it as the Ice Patch, and it's all these igloos and it's a theme park basically. Yeah. It's a grand opening. That's where we're at. And they're going, oh no, well done for doing something with all this horrible real estate that no one wanted, and then making it into a profitable business again.
This is starting to reek of Lex Luthor's plan to realign the coast here.
Yeah, it is a bit. But anyway, Jason breaks in and he's like, you're gonna tell me what I want about Willis Todd. And I'm gonna cut ahead. We do cut over to some Artemis stuff here, but I'm gonna just stick with this for a minute. And Penguin's like, all right, go on then. Who the hell's Willis Todd? So Jason takes off his mask. He's like, he's my dad, bitch. and Penguin literally just starts laughing. He's like, you realize you've just given away your secret identity, and by proxy, Batman's too, because I'm pretty sure I can figure it out now. And then Jason shoots him.
Wait, hold on. Just to clarify, were you embellishing there, or was the line of dialogue actually "He's my dad, bitch"?
No, I'm embellishing.
All right, okay. I thought.
Oh man.
No, he gives a big monologue, but he was my father, you sadistic toad.
I actually thought the line of dialogue was "He's my dad, bitch," and that's why I was laughing.
No, I wish it was. I'm improving the script for you. I'm being generous like that. No, he was my father, you sadistic toad. And then he goes on a monologue being like, yeah, he was one of your goons, and he was a shit dad, but, whatever. He was still my dad. I'm like, okay. And Penguin just starts laughing at him. He's like, yeah, you gave away your secret identity, and Batman's for this shit. And, Jason threatens him. He puts the gun up to his, point blank against his face. And Penguin's like, go on then. You're just a bat brat. You're not going to do anything. And you got some internal monologue of Jason going, yeah, I promised Bruce I wouldn't kill anyone in Gotham. Yeah, maybe promise was too strong. And then you get him. You don't see Penguin dead, but you hear that guns up against his forehead. You hear a blam. You see some blood. And cutting ahead a little bit later again, there's some news reports talking about Penguin being dead. Oh no, not dead. He's in critical condition. And this is what I was like. Hang on, you had a gun point blank against his forehead, and he's not dead?
He's thick-skinned.
Apparently. We get a little bit of Bruce in the cave and this is how we end the issue of, Alfred's there going, hey, Dick and Tim are on the phone going, what do you want us to do? Because it's obviously he's crossed the line, and Bruce is like, no, tell him to stand down, I'll bring him in. Also, not impressed. Next issue is double size, isn't it? 'Cause it's 25, dealing with this shit. Yeah.
I feel like David's getting like a bonus.
Getting his money's worth.
Getting his money's worth with the next issue.
Really,
it's a bigger issue.
And God, Brimstone's not making it to 25.
I really hope.
I can't believe this book is still around.
There's enough Red Hood fans, I think, that it survives.
Well, that's it. It's getting a complete revamp, isn't it? The team's changing. It's just Jason that's going on.
Get a new team and whatnot. In terms of creative team, I mean, obviously you just said the other team, the actual team, the team. But I hope we get a Batman v Superman 2 now, right? Bear with me. Just so that after Batman and Superman are fighting again, and Batman mentions Thomas Wayne, he goes, "Who's Thomas Wayne?" He's like, "He's my dad, bitch."
Thank God Snyder has nothing to do with these going forward, because that would definitely happen.
Yeah. Oh, just side notes and stuff. Artemis is trying to get back into the big floating fortress, and it's locked her out. It's got all the self-defense measures on because Bizarro's regressed. She finally gets in just by whacking it with an axe enough. And
that's my girl.
Bizarro's there talking to Pop, eating some popcorn, watching the movie. And she's like, he's fully regressed now by the time she gets in there. Yeah. They leave, and the fortress collapses. It blows up and starts falling out of the sky onto Gotham, and it's going to kill apparently tens of thousands of people, according to the Bizarro hologram. I'm not sure how it's not going to, obviously, but we'll see.
All right, what are you rating?
Honestly, I think the only reason they're getting rid of this is I'm flicking through this issue now, and I'm only just noticing. You know how at the end of every issue this week, there's you get the interview pages.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing now there's a fortress of attitude. Coming to that, and it looks kind of like it's floating.
What? Who's in that? DX and Stone Cold? Like, what's happening? By the way, Matt, do you watch The Good Place?
No, I need to though. It's on the list.
I've been watching it this week. There's a quality Stone Cold Steve Austin reference.
Oh, good.
I want to say late season 1. There was a quality Stone Cold reference.
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I'll eventually get to it. It's one of the ones that the production team behind Office and Parks and
Yeah, it's Mike Schur's
Brooklyn.
company. But you know that because at the end of it, you hear Ron Swanson go, "Fremulon."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those.
Yeah.
What are you rating Red Hood?
This issue was horrible. This is a 1 out of 10.
Whoa!
This is atrocious.
Whoa! If he said "dad bitch" though, that is up to at least a 3.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. So that'll take us on to Hawk and Dove number 3 for me. Again, why are we doing these issues? We should probably explain this better. Over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, which you can go to and support us if you like the show and you want to keep us going and, you know, make our lives easy affording books and whatnot. You can go over there and support us and get some stuff. You get the monthly episode, which is still coming, August's episodes in the next few days. We're doing Sandman Volume 1. It was a vote this month, and we're just about to do that in the next couple of days. But one of the things, one of the higher tiers is you can make me and Connor read a book once per month, and he's got 2 people making him read books. I've got 1 person making me read a book, and it's Hawk and Dove number 3, Stellan Gates writing, Rob Liefeld on the art, and this is the New 52 book. So if you remember last issue,
we don't.
It was rhetorical. Shut your face. Let me
no,
finish.
But you always did that
I
to
remember.
me when I started with a Red Hood, and I started with that, and you always interrupted
remember.
that. So I wanted my turn.
Yes, but
Pepperidge
see,
Farms
the problem here, Connor, is you're under this impression that we're equal, and that's what you have to get out of your head.
No, it's true. I'm way more important.
Someone get a straight jacket. Anyway, Matt, still looking awkward. It's fine. We're joking. So
I feel like one of you is and one of you's not.
Who knows which?
Yeah.
So we had Condor and we had Swan appear, right? And they showed up at the White House. These were like the evil versions of Hawk and Dove, and this issue is almost entirely the fight. It's the fight in the White House between Hawk and Dove and Condor and Swan, and they kind of pair up.
I guess under on feet that make an appearance.
0.
0.
They pair up. You know, the boys fight, the ladies fight, and the president and the general, I think it's a Judge Willis or whatever his name is. They're together and they get trapped. And it's actually, honestly, the most interesting part of the issue is that Deadman shows up and takes over the president, because the president gets knocked out, so he takes over the president to try and help the judge, and they're like, you know, try to escape. And then he tries to go inside Condor and take him over, but when he tries to do that, he sees like this demonic thing in like a sort of hellish scape. It's like when he tries to take over him, he goes to like this hell dimension, and there's this big like winged. The wings are very Hawk-like, but the core body is just a smudge of monster and shit. Is whatever. It doesn't. You know, he feels pain and he gets kicked out, and you know, Condor just kind of laughs. I was like, you tried to take over me. Very good. So that
because Condor is the chaos one, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He doesn't even know.
Like I'm supposed to remember from the last issue, right? Is that?
Look, they're paying for this.
What happened 2 issues of Red Hood ago?
2 issues ago. See,
Shut up.
I could tell you the beats of what have happened in the last arc. I don't know specifically 2 issues ago. 1 issue ago was all the Jason stuff with Penguin. 2 issues, probably Margun's stupid granddaughter that's also called Margun. That was probably 2 issues ago. If not, it was 3. But yeah, I'm in the ballpark.
So there's actually a lot of plot to talk about, because most of it is just the fighting. Hawk getting angry. Dove trying to talk to what's his name, Swan, and at the end of the issue, so there's a point in the middle where Swan kind of ambushes Dove, and then we don't see them again. She pulls out a knife, a blade, and then we don't see them again until the end when Dove shows up to like help in the final moments, and she stabs Condor with this blade that she seems to have gotten off of Swan. I keep forgetting her name. And then basically his suit goes away and he turns into an old man. He's like this old man, and Hawk's like, well, he can still be interrogated. So that's kind of where we end. But there's something suspicious here. When he asks Dove where she's been, she says, "Tell you later." And the last time we saw her, she was being ambushed by Swan, and we never saw how that ended. So it feels like something fishy's going on here. Like there's been, she's like, this is actually maybe Swan who's taken her outfit or something, and this is all like part of a plan to trick them or to trick Hawk. That's what I'm getting from this. I could be wrong. Obviously, you want me to talk about the art because it's Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
The real reason you're being forced to read this.
Yeah. I mean, this is the weird thing about Liefeld is that he's not terrible all the time. Like, there's certain panels and actions that are fine. I just went to a page and there's Dead Man's foot's there. I've got a foot.
Just one.
Dang, I should have taken the over.
There's a foot there. Admittedly, I'm scrolling through the red. Oh, there's another foot there. I can see a dove foot.
Wow.
It doesn't look great,
admittedly.
Really,
yeah, he's really gotten control of that.
Yeah, maybe by the time New 52 started, he kind of like really practiced his feet a little bit.
He got super confident that he can draw feet, and now he's like...
Oh, hell, Dove's got a crouching pose here, and you see both of her feet in this panel.
Wow. So remember a couple months ago he created that character called the Pouch? Maybe he's going to make the foot.
No, I don't remember the Pouch, Matt.
Oh, I remember the Pouch.
Yeah, because we couldn't decide if it was satire or not. Like, is he, like,
playing into the joke?
Himself?
Yeah.
Or is this completely, like, him not getting it but thinking that he gets it?
Yeah. I mean, the bigger problem with the art for me is just the typical Liefeld stuff of the faces are a little bit too... how do I even describe how Liefeld's faces look? You know what they look like.
Awful.
Yes. The faces aren't great, and then obviously people are just typically too ripped and too bulky, as you'd expect. But it's not all bad. There's a couple of spreads in here where there's a big action moment happening, or it's not offensive, right? It's not like I'm reading this and going, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. Like, we encounter worse art here or there, just reading comics every week. I think Liefeld's got...
I feel like Peter's not getting punished enough with this.
Liefeld's got the reputation that he's got because he somehow became like the biggest thing in comics for a long time, and was attached to a lot of the biggest characters, especially at Marvel. And he's not really good enough for that. So everyone's like, why is he...
It would be like Brett Booth being the biggest thing in comics.
Yes.
He's not the worst, but it's kind of like really mediocre at best.
Yeah.
That said, that Joker Daffy Duck art comes across occasionally, and it makes me cringe. So I'm just like, ugh.
I mean, I don't think this book's the worst thing ever. It is a thoroughly mediocre, forgettable book. Hence why I can't remember details of the last issue beyond... the only thing I remember about the last issue is that when Condor showed up, I was confused because I just thought it was Hawk. And I had to sort of suss out what's going on here. What's happening?
You had to do research for your book.
I had to do research, yes. Because he's like a dark orange, whereas, Hawk's got the red colour scheme. It's not that different.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing where, if let's say you're drawing a character in like a city street at night, you might have a different shade of colour to represent the fact that the streetlights are hitting them. It sort of looked like that, kinda. It's close enough that it feels like maybe it's an intentional... It looks different in this light kind of choice, but that was just all action. It was all set in the White House. It was all one big fight scene, just cutting between the two pairs, and Dead Man showing up to help. So they've got the old man body of Condor without his powers lying there stabbed, and they're going to interrogate him next issue. So that's where we've left off. So it's a solid 4.
Sounds intriguing.
Solid 4 out of 10.
4.
Connor.
Generous.
Round us out with the Curse of Brimstone number 4, Justin Jordan and
Eduardo Pansica.
Oh, I like Pansica.
Yeah, it's fine. I feel really weird about the art in this issue because I feel this is coming off of Philip Tan, and it feels like barring a couple of very specific panels that I'll get to, he's just trying to emulate Tan's look. And I like Tan's look as well, but I don't know. It's kind of just not. It's not working here. Where he's not doing his own thing, so it's not as good as I know he can be. And I'll be honest, it hasn't been Tan's best work either on this series. I've seen him do a lot better. So I mean, get that out of the way.
So how's DC Ghost Rider? What's he up to? What's he doing?
Well, I will start with a positive for the writing. Something that more writers need to take note of, and this is something that should be 101, but is often forgotten. Because I couldn't remember the names of these two characters. I couldn't tell you. However, the first panel they're on screen, this brother and sister, they put their names. They don't, it's not like a caption box. They just in the dialogue call each other their names. I'm like, right, okay. Thank you for at the start of this issue reminding me. And I do genuinely appreciate that. I think that is something that more writers could do, especially with newer characters.
No, I would agree with that. I think more books. It's kind of like how we always joke that John's always started these Green Lantern issues with, "My name is Hal Jordan, and I am Green Lantern of Sector 2814." But as much as we joke about it, it's actually nice. I think the first time a character appears in your issue, just have a narration box in the name. Just do it.
Yeah, like I said, if you
simple.
can fit it into your dialogue, great, go for it.
If not, just do a little narration box. Just the name.
Do it. I'd rather know than be questioning it and having to look for it later.
Yeah.
So there's a genuine writing positive. Then there's a lot of mediocrity. They're on that road trip. They got the ledger from the salesman, and they're like, "Let's go find a place." And they kind of get somewhere, and they're like, and it's just.
Oh, Connor's audio's went. That's funny.
Because even the audio doesn't want to hear about.
Yeah, the Ghost Rider himself has came in and taken away his audio. And now he's looking at it. I can tell that he didn't hear us either, because he didn't hear us complain about it. He's just now looking at these things and going like, okay, something's wrong. Look at him trying to figure out. You can see the light bulb inside the head kind of trying to flicker on, but not quite getting there.
Ding, 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 ding. Is he back?
He may be back.
Okay.
There he is.
I don't know. I think he went away again.
Back.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Oh, he's back.
He's back. Okay, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, no. Okay. Was my voice gone as well halfway through a sentence?
Yeah, it was just gone. Yeah, just cut out completely.
Where did I get up to?
I wasn't listening.
They're on a road trip. They got the ledger, and that was pretty much it.
Okay, so they're going towards they've deciphered part of the ledger, and like, okay, this is where the salesman's been. One of the towns where he made a deal. There's
going to be a quiz at the end of this, Matt. Just pay attention.
That was the most unconvincing agreement ever. But they get there, and there's nothing there. There's no town. It's just a bit of a lake, and they're like, well, pretty sure this is the place. And then some dude shows up and points a little sawed-off shotgun at him, and he's like, hey, whatever you're gonna do, whatever power it is you got, I guarantee you I can pull this trigger quicker. So they stand down, they have a bit of a talk, and this is where, if I liked this book, this would have been quite interesting. It dives into some of the mythology of actually, who the salesman is, and it comes from metal. This book's finally tying into metal.
Oh, so that's like one of the first ones since Silencer? Not Silencer, Sideways?
Yeah.
Yeah, Terrifics did it as well, obviously.
But that's been every time. Like, I feel like these other ones, when I listen to you guys talk about these ones that I'm not reading, they're not tying into.
I mean, I'm not going to. I'm going to sort of stick up for the book here a little bit and just say I have no problem with it taking till issue 4 to establish what the link is.
No, I'm not critiquing that. I was just, I'm kind of already checked out, right? So it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
But basically, what it is the salesman is actually from the Dark Multiverse. And there's a lot of entities that want to come through to, survive because their worlds are constantly being destroyed, similar to how we got in Metal. And they were hoping that the Batmen kind of succeeded, so they just follow through. But obviously they didn't. So what the plan is every time the salesman takes one of these towns, it actually establishes a link to the Dark Multiverse. And, it's a little bit where they can get a bit of a foothold and kind of start to come through a bit more. And every time that one of his agents uses their powers, again, that feeds just a little bit of it tears the fabric a little bit more so they can come through. So that's what the purpose is. I'm forgetting the name of the organization that he works with, the Home Office. That was it, because I remember it being governmental. The Home Office is actually something in the Dark Multiverse. And it's them trying to get through to our universe so that they can just, not be constantly destroyed and live. And the idea is that maybe one of them's already here. Like one of the weaker ones was able to come through. Then there's just a fight with him against one of the other agents, and they kind of team up with this guy with the shotgun for that temporarily. And then he's like, yeah, do you know what? This is kind of bullshit. We're not doing this. We want to kind of do it on our own. She points the shotgun at him, and he's like, he's just given up. He's like, I can't undo what the salesman did to you. You're cursed. Just accept it. And the sister's like, nah, I'm not accepting that. We're gonna find a way out of it. And then he Batmans away, like he just vanishes. They're like, must be some part of his power set. And then that's it. That's the end of the issue. It's actually mostly exposition to do, and then a fight scene. But the fight scene is kind of boring. It should be interesting because it's this big green hulking thing made of skulls and rock fighting the inferno that he is. But it just kind of comes off as, oh well, we need a big fight scene here. It doesn't feel like a complicated thing. But the multiverse metal exposition stuff would be really cool if I was into it, if I was into the book.
Yeah, I mean the connection sounds fine. I like the idea of like this is the agents from the dark multiverse, and it's the whole thing is a plan to just let more people over. That's
honestly,
cool.
I wish I'd known it earlier. It's one of those things where getting to issue 4 with it isn't a critique, but you might have grabbed a few more people if you'd led with that, and maybe the book would last a bit longer.
Because I really appreciate,
especially coming hot off of metal.
Yeah, mentally, obviously, it's not worked out because the book, I didn't want to read more of it either. But like, I think if your story's good, because I think, sure, you can grab more people with it at the start, but is it really worth it if they're ultimately not going to like whatever else is there anyway? Where I feel like if the story's good and then you drop this great connection later, that's exciting if you're already reading it. It's like, oh, like now like there's this great callback to other things.
I think it's just sad for the lifespan of the book, the longevity, because even if the rest of the book was this quality, I think it lasts longer if you start off high, because the first issue is your most important. If you grab more people with that there and you keep them around, even you might get an extra 6 issues out of it just from that.
You may, but
and when I'm only really expecting this to get to 12, that extra 6 issues is a lot. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think my argument is just that. Is that worth like making the story worse or less exciting than it would have been?
That's fair.
I don't know if it is, but hey, what are you rating it?
Probably a 4. Forgettable fight scene, but nothing offensively bad. Some, nice ideas in there at points. Probably the best issue yet.
All right, well, Matt's signed over there. So
sorry.
What team's losing?
Oh no, just I read something and now it's not true, so it's fine. Yeah.
All right, that was exciting stuff. But that does take us on to the end of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week: best panel / moment, best cover, best art, and top 5 books. Although this week it's more of top 4 or 3, depending on.
For me, it's 3. Yeah.
But that's okay. We'll just rank them anyway because week 5 is weird. But so best panel / moment. Matt, what you got?
So mine's the page of Barbara falling out from the building, and just the way it does it, the layout and the colors and her and then when she finally does hit the water, it is damn brutal. So yeah. Cool.
Connor?
Mine's from Silencer. It's during the Batman fight. There's a part where he thinks that she's threatening the civilians that she just saved, and he turns around to check on them, and she kicks him in the face, and he goes flying into this car, and the panel where he crashed into the car is fantastic. You just the cape is just billowing out.
Yeah, okay, cool. I mean, there's not a ton of options this week, so I feel like I'm just going to play to my character and say Babs watching horror movies as a kid is my moment of the week.
Let's be honest, it was going to be that, or it was going to be a Dick Babs moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will go against the expectation of my own caricature, but it's a quiet week, so and let's be honest here. I've got a Batgirl annual, and then a Nightwing annual that stars Batgirl. I don't have a lot of options to avoid it this week.
Co-stars.
Yeah, so here we are. But yeah, so yeah, Babs watching slasher movies with her dad as a kid. That's my pick. All right, best cover of the week.
Oh, this is easy. There's only one option.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Double
It's
check.
the
Pacino
Batgirl.
Batgirl annual.
Yeah.
No, the Batgirl variant.
What?
The Middleton Batgirl variant. That is gorgeous.
It's honestly, out of all of Middleton stuff, it's one of my least favorite variants he's done.
Really? Oh man, I love it. It's so bold and striking with the color.
Oh no, I don't like that.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
Connor came in here so confident that this was going to be a clean sweep.
No, I think that's the Lupacino one's good. The Murphy, is it Murphy? The regular cover for Batgirl. I want to say it was Murphy, or is it Albuquerque maybe?
I
Oh,
don't
it
know.
doesn't look.
No, it is Murphy. That's also good. But man, that Middleton one is just easily for me. Like, there's no competition.
I'm not going to lie. Had I got around to Catwoman and Sylvester Tweety, that cover would probably win, but I didn't. So
You didn't, so it doesn't count.
I go with the Batgirl annual. I think, with James Gordon Jr. looking out from the bars behind.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, that's my pick. So there you go.
You people are weird.
I love how confident Connor was that there's only one choice this week, and then both
I
were like,
stand by it.
"Ah,
You
nah,
people
not
are wrong.
All right, so best art of the week then. Where are we going with this, Connor?
Yeah, it's tough. None of them are stand out. I'll give it to Schmidt just because I kind of already like his style, but I don't think it's Schmidt's best work.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Schmidt. I think it's probably the tightest overall, but I think both Batgirl books had their
solid.
moments.
Yeah, I'm going with Pelletier for Batgirl.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't really. I mean, there's nothing to fault or whatever this week. It's just very sort of across the line solid, but not stand out, right? All right, so ranking the books then. Usually I say top 5, but that's a little bit
Misleading.
and misleading this week. Yeah. So Connor, rank your 4 books.
Batgirl annual.
As number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Batgirl, then Silencer. Then I suppose I have to count Nightwing. By default.
Yeah, mine's Batgirl annual, Batgirl, Nightwing.
Oh yeah, so you've got mine's is Batgirl annual, so clean sweep for that, and then Batgirl, Nightwing, and then Silencer in the last place. So relatively consistent amongst us. Just me and Connor swapping Nightwing and Silencer.
Yeah.
So there you go. So what a weird episode 119 of the show.
Yeah. Before we do move on to next week's books,
Oh yeah.
we should just mention that we did get a release date for the DC Universe.
We did.
Oh sure, yeah, Batman
Streaming
Day.
service.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Titans is coming October 12th.
12th.
Yes. So yeah, those are things that are coming. I
looks
never
so
really
bad.
thought about putting that in the news, just because I know we're going to talk about it in the TV news, and
Yeah, but we do always talk about the relevant DC news.
yeah, we do.
TV
I
news.
just I don't think about it as much. But yeah, it's worth
I mean,
mentioning.
why would you want to be fair?
Yeah, it's Titans. Yeah, it looks like garbage.
It looks so bad, but I need to see how bad it is. I don't
I'm-
feel like that with a lot of things, but
I'm kind of glad that first episode hits the week I'm away.
Yeah,
Because it means that I can by the time I get back and finally watch, I'm kind of removed from all the whatever. Even if it is horrific, it's probably going to be blown up even more online.
yeah.
So I can kind of go in a bit more.
Which
just
is
okay,
funny
settle
because
down a bit.
we'll probably review it together on TV Multiverse. Because you're away that week, you come back the following week. We'll do it on TV Multiverse then. But I think me and Matt are going to do like a Titans
special.
episode 1 thing. Yeah, just a one-off.
Yeah.
Also, did the bastards have to launch it at the same time that CW starts its season?
That's so
Yeah.
annoying. I know, just because we don't have enough DC shows to watch at that time. God damn it, it's frustrating.
that said, they also announced some more casting for the Doom Patrol show.
Yeah, some
That's gonna be on there too.
weird and wonderful castings. Alan Tudyk's on the show now.
Yeah, with Brendan
Yeah.
Fraser, but Brendan Fraser's only doing the voice.
Voice
Yeah,
and flashback scenes as well when he was human.
Yeah,
there was some leaked set photos of
Yeah.
Robot Man.
Not just Robot Man.
pretty good.
Like there was like 4 or 5
Yeah.
cast members leaked.
well, and then Tudyk,
okay.
I thought Tudyk was playing Negative Man, but he's playing he's playing Negative Man, right?
No, Mr. Nobody.
Mr. Nobody. Okay,
Negative
so
Man's a
I'd play
Spider-Man
Negative
villain.
Man. Yeah, well, no, he's also the guy that's wrapped up in bandages on the Doom Patrol.
All
I
right,
thought.
okay. Is it Negative Man?
Yeah, I thought so.
Clearly, we don't read as much Doom Patrol as we should be.
No, no, no. That's what I thought Chidduck was playing. I was like, oh, he'll play off of Brendan Fraser real well. Like,
yeah. No, he's the
that's
villain.
great. And he's played the villain. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, even more interesting.
I feel like I've seen, especially in voice stuff, he does a lot of villainous roles.
Yeah.
Chidduck. Not so much in live action.
Do you know?
He does a lot with Disney right now. Like, it's crazy how much Disney.
Notable kind of exception to that, though, is Dollhouse. He put a really good villain on that. Which of course is a Joss Whedon show, as was Firefly, as was the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
You got it in right at the start. You didn't need to do that.
I know, but I was going to let it go, and then you mentioned the villain thing. I was like, oh, I need to mention Dollhouse now. And I'm like, okay, at this point, you know what? I didn't go through the obvious Firefly link, but once I had to mention Dollhouse, it was like, we're doing it. We're doing it.
You didn't have to mention Dollhouse.
I had to. It was a thing.
But no, yeah, it is Negative Man, who's the guy that's wrapped up in bandages.
Okay, cool, fair enough.
And then, yeah, Mr. Nobody is a villain, but I'm not quite sure what his deal is. I've never heard of him until just right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think before Doom Patrol launches, I'll make a point of going back and reading some of the classic Doom Patrol stuff.
Fun.
So that I actually have a basis of knowledge for the characters on the show.
Rumor is that Kelsey Grammer's in talks to play Calder.
Oh yeah, that's been around for a while, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I just found that out last night, and I was like, wow. Him playing a character named Niles.
It's an interesting cast. Like, I'll give them that. The fact that it's connected to Titans, though, and Titans looks like such trash, means that until I see a trailer, I am not letting myself get remotely hyped.
No, I was optimistic for Titans for the longest time.
Yes.
Yeah, because the set photos looked good. Like, Robin looked fine. It looked great.
Oh, that first picture, Robin's. Yeah. I will give it a lot of shit. Robin's costume still looks good.
Yeah, Robin's costume looks good. Yeah, everyone else looks like shit though. Everyone else.
Hawk and Dove.
Oh, they look fine, but I mean, you could barely even see them in the trailer. But Raven, Starfire, and Beast Boy all look like
Starfire,
shit.
Starfire pisses me off.
I don't know what it is. I think it's the coat she's wearing. She looks like a street hooker.
Yeah.
I think it's that. I also think the hair is like this ridiculous kind of twirly. Like, I know Starfire has obviously like pretty wavy hair, but they've given her this like really sort. It's almost
curls, ringlets.
Yeah, it's really strict curls, and it just looks really icky.
Yeah.
Or not icky, iffy is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks bad, and then obviously the trailer's tone's just in a horrible place. The acting looks bad. It looks cheap as shit. We've talked about this before, but it looks bad.
Those one sheets that came out.
Oh god, yeah. That was the new thing this week. Is there was the new one sheets that each of the four main characters had like their own poster, and they look like Raven's one in particular. It reminds me of like a direct-to-video horror movie from like the 2000s. The tone and the color of it, how it looks. That's what it looks like to me.
Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to watch the episode straight away. Just that little bit of time.
Oh, you're still watching it though.
I know I'm still. Well, obviously, because it's weekly, so I need to watch the second episode. I can't do that. That's the one downside, is I'm gonna have to watch the second one pretty close to the
pretty
first
soon
one.
after. It'll be like 2 days.
See,
later.
I'm lucky is I can just watch one and then talk about it and then banish it away like a Trigon.
Screw you.
Sorry.
I feel like people. I mean, that's the thing. I'm assuming it looks like it's going to be atrocious bad, where it's going to be easy to like tear apart every week. If it ends up being boring bad, then we'll probably just not cover it every week one after the first couple, and that'll be fine. But if it's interesting enough where we've got so much to talk about, it's like, well, we kind of have to keep.
Well, and let's be honest. After the first one, I might have to just pair it with Arrow while I'm hammered.
I was gonna say there's Arrow drunk, and then there's Titans drunk, and Titans drunk you don't walk away from. Like that's. Yeah.
Titans has to come after Arrow, right, on that double bill, based on what we've seen so far.
I don't know why, but that just reminded me one of the best things I ever saw on the internet. I don't know what movie it was. Maybe it was a DC movie, but someone said the movie has worse legs than Barbara Gordon, and I lost it. Regardless, anyway, so what's coming next week?
Yeah, I thought we were wrapping up. I don't remember.
Sorry.
Hey, this is one of you two that brought up.
No, that was my bad. I
Yeah.
brought up the DC universe.
So yeah, coming next week, we got a week 1 in September. We got Batman 54, Justice League 7, Green Lanterns 54, Green Arrow 44, Nightwing 48, Catwoman issue 3. I think, or did that get moved to week 2 again?
Nope, that got moved.
They got moved. Okay,
Yep.
cool. Adventures of the Super Sons issue 2. I think you guys are still reading Deathstroke, so 35's out next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm committed till the end of this arc.
Yeah.
Is there one more after this?
I think there's one more because it was a 6-part, and we're on part 5, so I think this is 6.
Also coming out next week, which we will not be covering, is Harley Quinn 49, and Connor will be covering eventually, unless Tyler changes his mind. But Curse of Brimstone issue, I didn't write down the number when I wrote these down, so whatever it is.
6.
6. There you go.
Yeah.
Also coming out, the 2 Bendis books. You have one called Cover. And then United States versus Murder Inc.
Oh yeah,
#1.
that was the thing that was being advertised at the end of all the books this week.
I'm going to be checking that out. That's an alternate history of the U.S. I'm in.
Also,
and it's him and Oming from Powers.
I do like Oming, but The Dreaming's out next week, #1.
That too.
Oh yeah.
I was obviously away the episode that you guys covered the universe special, the Sandman universe.
Well, covering it's a bit of a loose term. But
did you guys not enjoy it enough to want to carry on?
Finish it.
Really?
I got 4 pages in, and I was like, I feel like I need to know what's going on.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So.
Yes, which is funny because we're about to do Sandman Volume 1 on the monthly for patrons. I'm halfway through it. Once I'm done it in a couple of days, we'll be talking about that, and it's going up for patrons. So Connor being a big fan and having read the whole thing, me having never read any Sandman things outside of a few pages of Universe issue 1. But did you enjoy Universe issue 1?
I did. I thought it was a blast. Honestly, most of it was new stuff entirely. It was only that first section with Lucian in the Dreaming that was related to previous material. After that, it was all kind of new stuff that you would have been fine with.
Wow, that's a shame.
Yeah.
If only you were here.
That was so not sincere. He was like, "That's a shame." I think my issue with it was more that I left it till the last thing to read on the day of recording,
and then you didn't have time.
And it was like 50 pages or whatever it was.
It was big, yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. And I said, you know what, I'm about to read Volume 1 of Sandman this month, because I already knew I was reading that by the time that came out, and I was like, nah, I'll just wait and read that instead, it's fine.
Just before we go, I want to give DC some real shit for something coming out next week.
Here we go.
This is something coming out next week, the Batman Catwoman The Wedding Album Deluxe. This is, and I'm going to read you the solicit quote here. The historic wedding of Batman and Catwoman is commemorated in this must-have collector's item, featuring the historic wedding issue and the tales leading up to the big day, plus behind-the-scene design sketches and variant covers. Collects Batman 24, 44, and 50, plus the retailer variant issue covers from issue 50 and the wedding.
What?
Yes.
This is bullshit.
This is bullshit.
Do you know what it is, though? They had to... I mean, it's bullshit exists at all, but it's so misleading because they had to solicit this before the issue 50 happened, because the trades are always solicited even further in advance.
Yeah, but I hate that they knew that this was not happening.
Oh, of course they did,
and they solicited anyway. This is douchebaggery of the highest order. This is absolute gouging. I feel bad for the stores that ordered this, but with the cutoff and can't return them.
Yeah, the casuals will buy it, though. They'll still come in. And it's only $18.
Yeah, it's not like it's super instant, but I feel bad for the stores who ordered it and then thinking, oh, people are, okay, maybe we'll get this because it's the wedding. And then...
there's no doubt it's bullshit. There's no doubt this is bullshit.
It's not as bad as the trade that's also out of the preludes to the wedding, which had actually nothing to do with anything.
At least they're actually issues. And
I mean, that's not a problem with the trade. That's just a problem with the issues themselves. Yeah. I mean, the trade itself is a collection of those issues. The trade's not at fault.
They're pointless, but I'd be more annoyed if they weren't collected just because completionist sake, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this thing which is just, okay, here's 3 issues thrown together plus some behind the scenes stuff.
This is the equivalent of like back when they used to do like compilation DVDs. Like you'd have the full seasons, but then they'd be like, here's the Xander DVD. Here's 4 episodes of Buffy related to Xander. I'm like, who wants 4 random episodes? Piss off.
Yeah. They used to do it with The Simpsons a lot, which I think I could get away with that one because they're all just, here's an episode of The Simpsons, right?
To a point, yeah.
Yeah. But at least you can pick a theme with that and just give you know, it's more forgivable.
It's fine until it's like, well, now I want more. So now if I've run out of all the compilations, I have to start buying the season set. So then you're rebuying some of the same content.
That is a problem, yeah.
Yeah,
But at least that compared to the Buffy one, where what good does that do you? You're literally missing huge chunks of progression.
Yeah. With no proper ending either, because it's it's not like the last episode on the disc was going to be the last episode. So
yeah,
hey.
Exactly.
But hey, so Connor has successfully extended this outro 3 times, I think.
Yeah, I know, but that one got me.
Way to go, Connor.
Yeah, that's Connor's fault. But that's us. We are done for episode 119. We'll be back next week for 120 with a more healthy dose of books, and yeah, we'll be back then. So let us know what you thought of the books this week. Get us on Twitters at DC Comics Podcast. Of course, we mentioned Patreon. Go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get the monthly episode, which is coming in a few days for August, even though it's technically September. We're running late. We always seem to be running late at the end of the month. I don't know why that happens. But
I have a shitload of overtime.
That's why. That's the real reason. But yeah, so that's coming in the next few days for patrons. Our thoughts on Sandman issue 1 should be interesting because we have very different tastes when it comes to this stuff. So that might be a saucy.
I'm going to say this now. I can't comprehend how Pete doesn't like this. I already know somehow he just doesn't like it.
I'm not revealing a thing. I
don't know why.
I've read like exactly half of it so far, so I'm not going to tell you what I feel. We're going to find out on I think we're recording Monday, but
day to be determined.
Day to be determined. It's been pushed back like 5 times in the last week and a half. So I mean, I'm not going to concrete that in just yet. But here we are. So that is coming. So go over to Patreon and you can feel warm and fuzzy for supporting the show and everything else we do. And as we said, check out our movie reviews and our movie discussions and whatnot. You get a taste of them on the feed if you listen to the audio feed for the comments from the Multiverse. Every time there's a DC movie, I'll put that up on the comments from the Multiverse feed as well. Because it's relevant. Obviously, people should care about whatever movie's out.
Will care.
Yes. And we actually have another DC movie this year, a proper one. Aquaman's coming out.
Oh yeah.
That's happening this year.
I keep forgetting.
Hopefully it's not terrible. That's the hope.
Yeah,
anyway,
fingers crossed.
That is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, guys, and always remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
It was Keith Giffen.